Good morning. Demands for a national inquiry into grooming gangs.
The Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch calls for an immediate investigation into child exploitation in Britain.
Well, responding to the criticism, the government said they called for and supported a national inquiry into child sexual abuse, which concluded in 2022. But has enough been done?
The government has launched an independent commission to transform social care, but proposals for major reform may not be delivered for years.
Today marks 6 months since the Labour Party took to power, but are we feeling the changes they promised?
Nigel Farage will today attend Reform UK's East Midlands Conference, with a new poll projecting that the party could win a total of 72 seats in the new general election.
The New Orleans terror attacker acted alone, and there's no link between him and the Trump Hotel Cybertruck explosion. That's according to the FBI. Temperatures plummet. Could we see some snow on the way?
As a cow has been genetically modified to release fewer emissions, we're asking, should we be testing on animals at all?
And in sport, the World Darts Final is tonight as Luke the Nuke takes on the Dutch Green Machine. Celtic's Green Machine faltered against Rangers last night, and Marcus Rashford has said no to £675,000 a week. Well, you would, wouldn't you?
Hello, good morning. Plenty of sunshine around today, though it is going to be feeling cold, and also some snow on its way this weekend. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
It is cold this morning.
Freezing cold.
And it's going to get worse, apparently. It's horrid today. If you're going out anytime soon, you've got to defrost the car. It's get the defroster out, get the old
Yes,
out
and
the
you
windscreen.
need to dig out your hats, your gloves and your scarf. Because this morning, I couldn't find any. And it's
No.
Yeah, I had a bit of a panic, delve through the cupboard, couldn't find anything. Yeah. So be prepared if you're going out, it's freezing.
So what's the law when it comes to, when I say the law, there is the unwritten law when it comes to actually de-icing the front of the... Is warm water allowed?
No.
No, to put hot water could crack the old
Not
thing.
with the
It will
It's so
crack
much
it.
quicker, though, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, yeah, but no, it's not worth it.
It's not
Crack
good?
your windscreen.
Right, so that will... So just the spray, but not the...
Well, to be honest...
Warm water, slightly warm water?
What do you do?
I just sit in the car and put the...
Oh, do you?
I just sit in
You're
the car
patient.
and put the big, the big blower on.
How long does it take once the big blower's going?
Only takes about 3 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow, because I want to wake everybody.
And the back windscreen goes really quickly.
Right, yeah.
The heater. So I just sit and let that happen.
Oh, you're patient. You're
Because I cannot be out there going
Yeah,
with the
I know.
scraper and all. I can't
it's
be
cold
bothered.
in the hands, and then I did the water, the windscreen wash as I'm driving away, thinking, and then
Won't come
turn to ice. Then doing that,
see.
scraping and.
See, I'm very bad. I get impatient. I'm often running late to things.
Yeah.
Jump in the car, don't have time to de-ice.
Oh, so you just drive off.
Put on the blowers, wait until there's a little eye hole.
You peer through the eye
and
hole.
I just peer through like this, driving.
Yeah, I think that's illegal.
I think
Very bad.
I think it's probably not a good idea.
I think you could be pulled over by the police by that.
No. It's my New Year's resolution. There you go.
Is to drive more
Will be
carefully.
to do my 3-minute wait.
Yeah, it's worth it, but honestly, it's just... And they're talking about... It was -2 where I live today.
Is it really?
Yeah. And they're talking about -10 over the weekend.
No. So.
Snow.
We're going to get more than a dusting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's more than a dusting.
Oh, dear.
I hate to say it, the last time snow came down like that, I couldn't leave the house.
I don't think that's not a bad thing.
I couldn't get out the drive. Well, it is if I have to
Working
ring up tomorrow
weekends.
morning and say, I can't get out the drive.
You're still peddling that old story, are you?
Yeah, Might work.
Stephen couldn't get in today.
No, to be fair, I didn't have the same car, but last time I tried to get out the drive and just couldn't get out.
I like the snow. I like it. That's the problem. I know it's going to cause me trouble, but I do love the snow. I love the look of snow. I love the way snow is, but I know it's going to cause me trouble.
Fights.
All that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just a child at heart.
It's lovely if you're indoors because it's so beautiful. beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you need to go outside, especially in this country, everything grinds to a halt, and it is impossible to get.
But Ellie,
done.
it looks nice.
Pretty.
Loads of you getting in touch this morning, talking about. I mean, Angela's still in bed because it's too cold to get out of bed.
Jealous.
Paul leaves the car running for a few minutes, quite right too. So there you go. You're all feeling the cold this morning. Keep your thoughts coming through. gbnews.com/yoursay. There, came to me in the end.
Yes, very good. Now, despite Labour's majority, the government is starting 2025 with its lowest approval ratings to date.
Well, yesterday, 20 councillors in Nottingham defected from the party, warning the Prime Minister's on a collision course with disaster.
Well, last night it emerged that Labour blocked an inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer's conduct as the head of the CPS while investigating the Oldham child grooming scandal.
And this morning, the government's confirmed that funding and reforms to social care, well, the proposals may not be delivered until 2028.
Well, despite that, Sir Keir Starmer's pledged to make this year a year of changing Britain for the better. But will it?
Let's get the thoughts of political commentator Peter Spencer. Peter, good morning to you. Let's talk about the grooming gangs inquiry. I mean, the government, there's all this hoo-ha over what Jess Phillips has blocked or not blocked. But the government says, well, there was an inquiry that concluded in 2022, which we called for and we supported.
Indeed, that is the case. I mean, this is the most extraordinary row that came out of nowhere. It's a kind of a kaleidoscope of conflicting interests, what we're looking at here. And very close to the centre of which is Elon Musk, who's weighing in a particular muscular fashion, if pardon the play on words there. I mean, this is a foreign businessman launching into British politics. I wonder if our own tech billionaire James Dyson decided to tell Donald Trump how to do his job, I cannot imagine somehow that will go down especially well in the Make America Great party. And so, but to deal with the issue in hand that you specifically mentioned, Steve, I mean, the fact is, yes, there was an inquiry. It was supported by Sir Keir Starmer. And also, arguably, it should have been very much bigger, but Nigel Farage has popped his head over the parapet to say, look, excuse me, what are the Tories making a fuss about this for? They had 14 years to sort out this stuff. So, frankly, everybody loses. And, of course, behind all that is the fact that what was going on was absolutely horrific.
Well, yes, absolutely horrific. And Elon Musk's involvement in all of this is fascinating. Does he have a point that Jess Phillips could be protecting Sir Keir Starmer from scrutiny over his role at the CPS over all of this?
Actually, I don't think he does have a point in all this at all. No, I mean, he's very good at firing from the hip, and sometimes you see some of his stuff and you think he's firing with an AK-47 from the hip, But I think that Sir Keir Starmer did what he was supposed to do when he was Director of Public Prosecutions. And indeed, what we're looking at now is the suggestion that there should be another sort of a national, Home Office-inspired look at what went on back then. But actually, the Tories rejected that idea when they were in office. So who are they to talk about stuff now? And but I come back to this extraordinary thing with Elon Musk sticking his oar in here. Okay. Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States in a couple of weeks or so, and this appears to be the new normal. But it's amazing how quickly we've managed to absorb this new normal and not question it as we really should.
I'll tell you what, though, I mean, there is plenty of criticism to be levelled at both the main parties in all of this. I mean, Nigel Farage is right, isn't he, when he says the Tories didn't do anything about it or didn't do enough. However, Kemi Badenoch is saying today, and you said, well, she's a new leader, it's a fresh broom and all that. Trials have taken place all over the country in recent years in regard to rape gangs, but no one in authority has joined the dots. 2020 2025 must be the year that the victims start to get justice. And actually, that in itself is a fair point, isn't it? Because there's been a lot of concern over what has been going on with these gangs. But actually, without a public inquiry, how do we actually really start to change the system and really get to the bottom of this?
Well, if there were to be a council-led inquiry, that would be public, to the best of my knowledge, and so I don't think that quite stands up. But when it comes to joining the dots, I mean, I do accept that point, because I think about the pollster Sir James Curtis, who says, look, the problem with the Labour Party, the current Labour government, is that it doesn't do narrative, and in fact, that is in large measure Sir Keir Starmer's job, is to join the dots, at least in words, to give the nation the sense that he has a cohesive plan and a cohesive pattern of behaviour going on here. And there is the problem that he hasn't quite got his head round that, and the other problem, it has to be said, is that he's not a very good orator. In fact, many would say, and I'm inclined to agree, that he's a pretty rubbish orator. And I sort of see an echo here of actually the Gordon Brown days, when he was a complete workaholic and actually in lots of ways played a blinder of a hand, particularly over the Wall Street crash of 14 years ago, whatever it was. But he could not get his point across, and I can remember his guys tearing their hair out, trying to think, how do we present this guy as being something sexy, not Flash, just Gordon. Was a response to that.
Peter Spencer, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Well, a Home Office spokesman has said no child should ever suffer sexual abuse or exploitation. Everyone who is responsible for children's welfare must learn from past mistakes and do everything possible to prevent future failures.
The Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, responded to the Council's request, acknowledging the strength of feeling that a further inquiry into child sexual exploitation in Oldham should be undertaken. In letters to the Council Executive, Phillips apologised for delays in responding, but maintained that local authorities should take the lead, saying it's for Oldham Council alone to decide to commission an inquiry into child sexual exploitation locally, rather for the government to intervene. She welcomed the Council's resolution to continue its work with victims and survivors.
Well, look, it's our poll of the day today. We are asking, should there be a national inquiry into the rape gang scandal? We'll bring you the results as they come through throughout the day. Have the final result in Martin's show later. And if you want to take part, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, at 12 minutes past 6, the man who drove a truck into people celebrating New Year in New Orleans is believed to be acting alone, according to the FBI.
Well, the FBI has also said there's no definitive link between that attack and the explosion of a Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
Well, Samsudin Jabbar's rented truck rammed into crowds in New Orleans, killing 14 people and injuring dozens more.
Then, hours later, in Vegas, that Cybertruck packed with gasoline canisters and firework mortars exploded outside the Trump International Hotel. The driver was confirmed as an active-duty American soldier, Matthew Livelsberger, who had apparently shot himself before the explosion took place.
Well, we're now joined by foreign correspondent Sarah Firth. Good to see you this morning, Sarah. And obviously details are emerging all the time over these two attacks, but we do understand, at least with the New Orleans attacker, that it's believed, according to the FBI, that he was acting alone.
Yes, good morning, Ellie and Stephen. You're right, the FBI have given this update. Remember, it is very, very early into an investigation of this type, but they're saying the New Orleans attacker, Samsudin Jabbar, they do believe was acting alone, that there was no one else involved. And they've also given an update on the possible link with the attack in Las Vegas, saying that at this stage in the investigation, they don't think there is a link. But there is, of course, that critical piece of information in both attacks that we know now. In the case of the New Orleans attack, Shamshid Jabbar was an army veteran. And then in Las Vegas, you have the name of that attacker, Matthew Livelsberger, now having been released. He was an active duty service member, a Green Beret on approved leave from the US military. So, look, the FBI are going to be going through all these details right now. We heard from them speaking, saying these are the facts at the moment. They were very clear, though, that what happened in New Orleans, the FBI saying this was an act of terrorism, it was an evil act, but at this stage, they don't believe anyone else was involved.
I mean, the problem here, I mean, obviously, as they investigate all of this, Sarah, there's the ongoing problem, isn't there, that when you have incidents like this, especially multiple incidents, what it does is work up the fervour of those people who are like-minded.
Yes, absolutely accurate. And look, they're going to be looking very closely, the counter-terror experts, the teams that are working on this investigation right now, at how this came to happen, how these men were radicalized. In the case of Shamshid Jabbar, he posted 5 videos on Facebook in the lead up to the attack, claiming he was inspired by ISIS. And that's going to be raising alarm bells. We know from counter-terror circles that one of the most difficult threats to really chase down and protect the public from are these so-called lone wolf attacks, where you have these members of the public who become radicalized, who then act alone and are able to inflict, huge damage. In the New Orleans attack, we know at least 14 people have been killed in that. So it's notoriously very hard to pin down. You've got huge unrest in the Middle East. You've got the war in Gaza. You've got the situation in Syria right now. And all of this, we know that global terror groups like Islamic State, so-called Islamic State, they prey on that kind of instability. They use it almost as a recruitment advert to pull in these individuals that they think could be radicalized. Now, in terms of the US security forces, the investigation with the FBI, they are going to be looking at just how they had not one, but 2 members of the public who served in the US military, one currently had been serving, how these individuals that would have had security clearances, how they came to be radicalized in this way. And that is a major question mark right now. And also a lot of questions outside of that, the enforcement investigation as to whether this was a US security failure, that this was able to happen, that these attacks were able to take place.
OK. Sarah Fair, thank you very much for your time this morning.
It's a worrying situation, and they've got to be on much higher alert in the United States, as we will have to be over here. It's time to keep your heads on a swivel and just look out for anything suspicious. It's all about playing our own part, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's any signs of radicalisation as well. We were talking to Chris Philp yesterday, who mentioned that, didn't he? Any signs, any behaviour that somebody is starting to change or think differently, it's best to alert the authorities. Yeah, which is a difficult thing to do, but I mean, got to be done. Right, we've been moaning on about the weather because it's cold and it's going to get colder. Let's get an update with Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. through into the overnight period. Once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change, thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, how do you fancy a bit of a boost to your new year? Well, not so much a bit of a boost, a big boost. You could win £50,000 by the end of this month.
Yet the biggest ever Great British giveaway. Here are all of the details that you need to enter.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes, the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of dribs and drabs here and there. Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still? The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's at the Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 6:24 now, a new year and a new wave of amber weather warnings.
no.
Snow and ice this time, issued by the Met Office for right across the UK.
Yes, temperatures expected to fall as low as -8 degrees in the cold snap this weekend. The UK Health and Security Agency have warned that this cold snap could put the elderly at risk of death, as criticisms for Labour's decision to limit winter fuel payments continue.
Well, let's talk to meteorologist at Weather Trending, Sarah Thornton. Sarah, good morning. So, how bad is it going to get?
Yeah, I mean, it could be quite bad, especially towards the north of England, perhaps southern Scotland, late on Saturday into Sunday. We are talking potentially about as much as 15 inches of snow there by the time it's all cleared. And that could really cut off some rural communities. So it could be quite bad. At the moment, the weather warnings themselves are yellow warnings. I think it's the Health Security Agency that's issued an amber warning, really just saying how cold it will be. And for vulnerable people, you know, something to watch out for, that they are taking all the concerns that they need to. They've got their heating on, they have what they need to get through this really, really bitterly cold snap. In fact, last night, as I talk to you right now, most places are actually sub-zero. It's been as low as -7.5 in Oxfordshire at Benson overnight, which is a well-known frost hollow, so it's always one of the coldest spots around in central southern England. But you know, in Cumbria as well, it's been -7 overnight. And for all of us, we're starting with a widespread frost this morning. But it's tomorrow, as we've got this cold air that sits above us across the UK. It's a bit like a kind of layer of treacle that's not moving. And then we're getting some wet weather coming in from the southwest, hitting it. And initially it turns to snow. And what's going to happen is it's going to draw in some much milder air. So towards the south of the UK, perhaps some temporary snowfall and certainly some ice, but it turns back to rain. But it's the north, as I say, northern England, parts of southern Scotland, perhaps Northern Ireland as well. It's going to see the very worst of this.
Gosh. And how long is this all set to last, Sarah?
So it sort of comes in sort of 36 hours worth of warning starting at midday tomorrow for much of England and Wales. And then at midnight tomorrow night, and that goes until sort of midday on Monday. And it's sort of a whole system that rotates in from the southwest, as I say, draws in milder air to southern parts of the UK. So by Sunday afternoon here, it'll be like 11 or 12 degrees. But the mild air never gets to the north, and it takes ages until it circulates away through the early hours of Monday. So it could be really, really quite tricky for people in the north. As I say, at the moment, the Met Office weather warnings are yellow warnings. That's the lowest tier. I expect they will move up into the amber category today, and we'll see that the warning areas are starting to be trimmed down and refined a bit more as we get a bit more detail on where the snow is most likely to be hardest hit.
We do seem to be going through this weird phase at the moment where it sort of goes reasonably mild and then suddenly very cold and then mild again, then cold again. What's driving all of this?
To be honest, it's winter, you know, it's the jet stream. We rarely sustain extremely cold weather in the UK. Now, a notable exception, of course, people might remember is 2018, the beast from the east, late February into March. And that's because in that scenario, we had our winds coming in from the east. We're predominantly driven by westerly or southwesterly winds in the UK. And so you always get these milder sort of swells. So we don't really hold on, especially towards the south of the UK, to really sustain cold. But when the beast from the east, if you remember, that did last. And the reason is because we had westerly winds and we had the winds coming all the way from Siberia across the very cold continent. We were right at the end of the winter period. But yeah, normally we tend to have swings. Now, we have really, really swung, haven't we? Because we were in the low teens over the Christmas period, and then we're back to kind of -7 now, as you say, and that's quite a big swing. But we do expect that at this time of year, so there's nothing kind of tricky or extraordinary about that. What we do know, though, of course, is with a warming planet, we don't see as much snow as we used to. So when we do see it, I think it always does feel a bit of a shock. And then especially in the southeast of the UK where I live, everyone's always like, well, it won't last and we'll never even see it. We might see a little bit late Saturday night, but I have to say it won't last for us in the south of the UK, it doesn't look like.
OK. Sarah Thornton, thank you very much. This just caught my eye on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. The NHS, ahead of this snowy weather that we're expecting this weekend, have warned people not to go out at night or in the morning.
Oh.
So only go out in the middle of the day, they're saying.
Right.
Yes.
That's good if you've got to go to work.
I was just thinking that, yes. Temperatures obviously dropping below zero, and they've also said check your medicine cabinets for essentials and to wear several layers of clothing.
Oh, well, there
That's
you go.
The top advice.
It's a sensible advice, isn't it?
Don't leave
Keep
the house,
warm.
essentially, and keep warm.
I mean, I don't know. It's crazy because for most people that just doesn't apply. I know Sarah's saying, well, this is what the weather does at this time of year. It does seem a bit more extreme to me. This is these sort of cold snaps and then mild snaps. But maybe it's just me.
Yeah, and I feel like we have more amber weather warnings than we used to, don't you think? I feel like every week we've got another.
Yes, just seems
for
that
wind
way.
or rain or
something or other.
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/will say, what will you be doing this weekend? I was meant to be going out for my sister's birthday, but I think that might be...
Yes, do it on Zoom in the house or
maybe.
something.
Yes.
Angela says, how are pensioners going to keep warm when their boilers pack up in the future and you can't get new gas boilers and you can't afford a heat pump? Do you know what? I don't understand the heat pump thing.
No.
I don't get it because there's all this talk about banning gas boilers, but you can still buy gas boilers at the minute. So I don't understand what everyone goes on about heat pumps, but you don't have to get one yet, and no one seems to think they work particularly well. So I don't know. It's really confusing.
Yeah, it's like not enough is known about them, really.
Yeah, I mean, and some of them, maybe they do work well, but not enough people have them to... And not everyone can have them.
Yeah.
It's all very hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we need a bit more clarity on all of that.
We do, don't we, really? But do stay
That'd be
warm.
the day.
Do stay warm this weekend, whatever you're doing. Look after yourselves.
Well, if you need to warm the cockles of your heart, Paul Coit will have all the support for you in just a moment.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cottbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Buses replaced trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau-Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. A number of roads across the northwest of England remain closed because of flooding. And in Cheshire, the A535 is closed each way after an accident between Holmes Chapel and Twemlow Green. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound after an accident from the A52 north of Grantham to the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham. On the M25 in Hertfordshire, 2 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise. Emergency repairs between junctions 24 and 23 from Potters Bar to the A1 causing delays. And on the M25 in Essex, 3 out of 4 lanes are closed anti-clockwise just before junction 28 for the A12 for repairs, also causing delays. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles.
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the second largest ocean in the world. And the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the two of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer Trust supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions and we stood there at my porch and Rowan said, I reckon we could do that. And I was like, yeah, I reckon we could. And then we brought Harry on board, and that's kind of how it all came together.
If people are watching and they want to support you, do you have a
Yeah, we've got
GoFundMe page
social
yet?
media platforms at
Right.
the Free Flying Fish. That's Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our GoFundMe links in all of the bios on there.
Fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At 6:34, Paul Coyte's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
And how did it go with the Arrows last night?
140. Listen, I'm missing the darts already, and it's not over yet. What are we going to do?
Finals tonight.
The final is tonight. So it's Luke Littler, as we expected. The 70-year-old... 70-year-old? He's really not that old. He really isn't. 17-year-old Wunderkind.
Oh, yes.
I've always wanted to use that phrase, so I thought I would. So 17 will be playing Michael van Gerwen.
So you predicted it absolutely on
the Green Machine, And, you know, it doesn't take a darts seer to be able to work out that it was going to be those two in the final. MVG is playing magnificently well, two-time champion. Of course, Luke Littler has not won the title, but, of course, last year it was his debut, only at 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I just think he's going to take some stopping because he's getting better and better and better.
And he's been so good for the sport as well, hasn't he?
He has, absolutely. 13 180s. 170 finish, which is the perfect finish, which is treble 20, treble 20, treble 20, bull. 170, he's done that as well. Average,
that's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. An average of 105.48 per 3 darts. So if you think you've got to finish on a double as well, this year, we just look at this year, he's won £1 million already. He's done 4 9-darters. And when I say about 9 darts, that's the ultimate. 9 darts is the least that you can score 501 in. So he's done that 4 times. Young Sports Personality of the Year award. But the only thing missing is the World Championship. And that's what we expect. He'll win tonight. Do you think he'll win?
Yes.
I'm really hopeful.
Yeah?
I'm really hopeful for him. I think it's a tough ask against MVG.
It will, and it's going to be a great final.
But I'm
and
really
both are looking good. So let's hear from Luke, shall we? This is him speaking after his semi-final yesterday.
As soon as that winning double went in, I knew back-to-back finals. But yeah, just finish here. Speaking to you guys, it's just chill out, reset the batteries and go again tomorrow.
105 average there, some incredible finishes. When you're playing at that level, do you feel unbeatable up there?
I felt very confident tonight. I wouldn't say the best I felt. The best I felt was against Nathan in the quarterfinals. But I'm just glad that I'm playing with confidence.
Now, the Nathan that he mentions is Nathan Aspinall.
Yeah.
Now, Nathan Aspinall revealed that he suffered from... Now, this sounds like it's almost like a joke darts disease, but it's a serious thing. Is Dartitis, who is not one of the 3 Musketeers, by the way. Dartitis is when, literally... It's
you can't let go.
That's it. That's exactly it. So it's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like a muscular thing, but it's a psychological thing. So he had that problem during the match in the 3rd set against Littler. So literally, you're throwing the dart, going to throw the dart, and a lot of darts players go through this. Eric Bristow went through it back in the day, that you actually cannot let... I mean, obviously there, he's let go of it, but this one, he actually had trouble letting go of the dart. And can you imagine... It's hard to imagine, if you're not a darts player or even a professional darts player, that you actually think, I can't let go of this, I can't let it... And you find yourself in a world championship like that. So it really affected him. So now he's having to go through hypnosis and various other things to try and stop that. It's the most bizarre thing, but darts players face this. Yeah. So
it's
that's
like
what
when you have to jump, you know, like for a bungee jump or something. You can't get yourself over the...
You know what? It could... It's still psychological because there's something...
That's bungeitis, though.
Bungeitis.
Bungeas, yes. But if you think about it, it's not a fear. It's just for some reason the brain is going, can't let go of this, and then it'll just either drop on the floor. So hopefully he comes through that okay because he's a fantastic darts player. Yeah. Because you know it's like they have a similar thing with golfers with the putts, and they get the yips, so they can't actually. It's really bizarre.
Isn't it funny, these elite people?
Yeah.
Anyway, look, fingers crossed for Luke tonight. I really hope he does.
Should be terrific.
Should we just have a quick look at Celtic?
Yeah.
Because they didn't do so good, did they?
Well, I mean, they always have done against Rangers. So Celtic, 11 points away, still 11 points on top of the. That's the way. It's ahead. That's the word I was looking for. Ahead. I always have trouble with that one. On top of the Scottish Premiership. So Rangers won 3-0 yesterday. It's the first Philippe Clement, who's the manager of Rangers, first Old Firm derby that he's won in 7. So anyway, 3-0, and Rangers got injuries. People didn't expect Rangers were going to do this, but Celtic started well, and Celtic's Arne Engels, by the way, was hit by a coin from the crowd. So what that's going to do, whether you're going to get Rangers going to be fined for this, because it's an individual. Any situation like this is always like an individual in how many thousands of people, 60,000. At Rangers, there were no Celtic fans because there was a ticket problem, so there was only Rangers fans. So he gets hit by a coin, which is a terrible thing, but should the club get fined for this? I don't know. Or do you just fine the person, get hold of the person that did it? So really, it's an individual thing. You can't. It's difficult to blame a whole club for the actions of one idiot that actually does such a thing. But luckily, Engels was OK.
I might have letting the team down.
Yeah.
Right, Paul, thank you.
It's a shame he didn't have Dartitis and he was throwing the coin. Well, you know what I mean? It could have stayed in his hand and there would be no problems.
Absolutely.
But
right, we'll see you later.
Story. Thank you.
Thanks, Coity. Do stay with us still to come. Nigel Nelson and Claire Pearsall will be here to go through the papers. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, and I think we are with all the snow that's forecast this weekend, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Cloudy skies across eastern parts of Europe, including some showers for southern parts of Italy and also parts of Greece, and also some rain and strong winds affecting the west. This will move into Madeira later on Saturday, also affecting northern parts of Portugal, western parts of France too. More in the way of sunshine across central parts of the Mediterranean, but cloudier further east with a risk of showers across southern parts of Italy and also the Greek islands too. And more in the way of sunshine next week with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support. It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Britain's Royal Collection of Art is one of the most important and largest in the world. And it's also one of the last great European royal collections to remain intact. And built up over many centuries, it has extraordinary depth. And curators have delved into its riches to produce an exhibition of Italian drawings between 1450 and 1600. There are household names here: Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Some of the drawings are complete works in themselves. Some are studies for images that would appear in much larger pieces. And some are anatomical studies which enabled these artists to draw the human form in all its perfection.
This is the earliest drawing in the exhibition of around 1450, and it's made by Fra Angelico, the great Florentine painter. It may seem an obvious thing to say, but we only have drawings like this if they have survived. And these drawings were not seen at the time as works of art. They were workshop studies. They were as functional as a hammer or a paintbrush, if you like, in the workshop. But the fact that a drawing would survive from 1450 to the present day shows that first it was useful, and it was a work that would have been referred to constantly in the artist's studio, and only later was it valued by collectors as an exemplar of the artist's genius, if you like, the way in which we might think of it today. So a drawing like this, which is in almost perfect condition, has got a history of being valued for different reasons from when it was produced to the present.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Right, let's go through the papers at 6:44 with political commentator Claire Pearsall and our senior political commentator here at GB News, Nigel Nelson. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Right, that's Claire. Times this morning. There's a whole new raft of measures being unveiled by the government actually now about disability welfare.
Yeah.
And the fact that money's being released to help people to be cared for better in their own homes.
Yes.
However, the whole sort of social care thing, they're saying they're not going to have the proposals till 2028.
That's right. We've now got a 3-year review into social care to see what the problems are, and this is Baroness Casey who is going to be leading it, which begs the question that why is it every single government pushes this into the long grass? We aren't going to get any kind of report until 2026, probably 2028 before anything is finalised, which happens to coincide with the run-up to another election. Nobody wants to solve this problem. It's cynical. So soon in the year. So cynical. Nobody wants to look at the actual cost of the problem because it is enormous. And I think that each government has looked at it and said, it's difficult, we're going to kick this one down the road, but we cannot continue in the way that we are. We cannot let people be put into care homes that aren't suitable. We don't have enough places. We don't have enough people to care for them. So what is this report going to do? It's going to be 3 years. It's going to be very, very expensive. Why don't we start spending the money now?
We should have been doing this years ago. I mean, preparing for this. We knew it was coming. We knew there was an ageing population. The number of 85-year-olds are going to double over the next 25 years. And the whole point about the care system should be that NHS and social care are linked together. The department has the name linked together, but they don't do the right thing to actually make it work. So 1 in 10 people in hospital shouldn't be there. They're only there because they can't go elsewhere. And in the meantime, if you are under 45, you cost the NHS 2,000 quid. If you're over 85, you're costing 13,000. So it's really important to try and link these two things together. Boris Johnson promised it. As Claire just said, successive prime ministers keep promising it. And now we're talking about something that won't happen until the next parliament. So it'll be after the general election before they can do anything.
Well, if they can do anything at all. I mean, in his statement, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, said our ageing society means costs of care are set to double in the next 20 years. So that demands longer-term action. The Independent Commission will build a national consensus around a national care service able to meet the needs of older and disabled people in the 21st century. I mean, there is a point to that, isn't there, in that you can't... Perhaps they should have come into office with a plan, but this isn't a quick fix. You can't have a sticking plaster approach to this.
No, you can't, and I think that is quite a reasonable position to take, but it does beg the question why the report isn't going to give you any recommendations for at least 3 years. So what are you going to do in the interim? You are going to have those sticking plaster measures because that's all you've got. If there are going to be no recommendations, you've got this massive gap in the middle that no one's going to fill.
Yeah, that's very true.
Nigel, let's have a look at the Telegraph, shall we? And this is shops and restaurants facing record staff tax bills this year.
Indeed they are. And what they're talking about is an extra $7 billion because of employer national insurance increases from the budget. The question, as always, is if you don't get the money from there, where does it come from? National insurance raises £168 billion a year. It's a huge tax. Because Rachel Reeves ruled out doing income tax, VAT and employee national insurance, it was the last big tax left. So the money's got to come from somewhere. So either you take it from retail, or you take it from business, basically, or you take it from more from farmers, more from pensioners, but it's still got to come from somewhere.
Claire?
So the detriment to many small businesses, and it's not just high street businesses, pharmacies are also looking at the cost it's going to add
and hospices
to their bill.
and GP surgeries. I mean,
so it's a really ill thought through priority, isn't it, for the government? So you say that you're not going to do something, you're then loading on national insurance contributions to employers without looking at what that is going to do to that industry of small and medium-sized enterprises.
But where does the money come from if it doesn't come from there? No one can answer this question.
This is the Labour government that said that the money is going to come from the 20% VAT increase on private schools. It's also going to come
to pay for
the
teachers, which they're doing.
Status. Yeah. I mean, there are so many things that they've said this is where the money is coming from. The green economy is going to grow and this is where we're going to get the money from. But they haven't actually put those figures down and they haven't seen if it is entirely possible. So the non-DOMs, for example, how much money are they going to get? They don't know. They don't know how many people are going to pay up. They don't know how many people are going to leave.
But these are big. This is big money. I mean, when it comes down to a national insurance rise, there is a huge amount of revenue that's raised from that. And if you can't raise income tax, maybe people would prefer that, to have their income tax.
You're not going to get the money if people aren't going to employ staff. Then you aren't going to get the revenue anyway. If businesses shut down and they don't employ people, that money doesn't come in.
Yeah, but they'll all squeal now. Everyone squeals about a new tax. So, well, let's see if that happens.
Yeah, but one of the issues, it was raised at the run-up to the election, was a lot of Labour's books were based on a necessarily growing economy.
Yeah.
But these actions are stagnating the economy.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a problem about growth, and it's not looking very promising at the moment, at least in the short term. The Labour's idea for growth was to use the green economy for that, so doubling onshore wind, tripling solar, quadrupling offshore wind. That would create 650,000 jobs, and as a result of that, the economy should grow. But it is long-term. It's not something that's going to happen over the next year or 2 years.
Why not just... I mean, I know they campaigned on not raising taxes, the basic three taxes, but perhaps they just shouldn't. So if a 1p increase in income tax in 27-28 would raise 7.5 billion on the basic rate, 2 billion on the higher rate, 210 million on the additional rate. You're looking at the best part of £10 billion.
Yeah, Stephen, you could well be right that her mistake was, in fact, to pledge for an entire Parliament not to raise those big taxes like income tax or VAT. That was the decision they took, and so the money's got to come from elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right, let's have a look at Elon Musk, Claire, should we? In the eye.
Growling.
I mean, he's having his say. A lot of people agree with him, but is he overstepping the mark?
I think he is. When you start to look at the comments that he puts on his own platform about things that are happening in British politics. Now, yes, some people will agree, but should somebody who is going to be in the administration in the United States have that much sway into what is going on in the United Kingdom? Everybody is entitled to opinion. I get that. Free speech is very important. But when you are a person with enormous wealth, enormous influence, why should you then meddle in the political situation in another country? What is in it for him? And I find that very difficult, and I think the Labour government is going to find it incredibly difficult to deal with the new Trump administration that's coming in, especially with Elon Musk holding the position that he's going to in government efficiency and having his fingers in practically every single pie when it comes to on the online world. I think his influence is not going to be helpful to what's going on here.
Yep, agree with every word of that.
Can I have that on the poster?
Yeah, I mean, the trouble about Elon Musk is, as Claire says, A, he's part of the new administration, in which case then he should butt out, basically. But also the stuff he says, he doesn't know anything about British politics. He keeps telling falsehoods all the way through. So, I mean, he said that rioters, for instance, during the summer, would go to detention camps in the Falklands. That was never on the cards. He did withdraw that, in fairness, but it was never on the cards. He talked about Britain on the verge of civil war. That wasn't the case. Constantly, he's meddling, but not telling the truth in the first place.
But he's entitled to an opinion, isn't he?
But he's entitled to an opinion, but is he entitled to actually to tell untruths?
Well, everyone can make a mistake. I mean, that's the fine line, isn't it? You're entitled to say something if you believe it to be true.
Yeah, but if a British cabinet minister was saying the same thing about America, there'd be real problems.
We're out of time, Nigel and Claire. I'm afraid we'll see you in the next hour. Let's have a look at the weather now with Honor.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow, once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change. Thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Buses replace trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau-Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. In Cheshire, the A535 is closed northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound after an accident between the A52 north of Grantham and the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham. On the M25 in Essex, it's down to a single lane anti-clockwise for emergency repairs just before junction 28 for the A12. With delays from junction 29 for the A127, then through Hertfordshire it's down to a single lane anti-clockwise for repairs between junctions 24 and 23 from Potters Bar to the A1 causing queues, and in Devon the A386 is closed in both directions south of Bideford because of ice. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever. an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Demands for a national inquiry into grooming gangs.
Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch calls for an immediate investigation into child exploitation in Britain.
Well, responding to the criticism, the government said they called for and supported a national inquiry into child sexual abuse, which concluded in 2022. But has enough been done?
The government has launched an independent commission to transform social care, but proposals for major reform may not be delivered for years.
Today marks 6 months since the Labour Party took to power, but are we feeling the changes that they promised?
Nigel Farage will today attend Reform UK's East Midlands conference with a new poll projecting the party could win a total of 72 seats in a new general election.
The New Orleans attacker acted alone, and there was no link between him and the Trump Hotel Cybertruck explosion, according to the FBI. As a cow has been genetically modified to release fewer emissions, we're asking, should we be doing this to animals?
And in the sport, the World Darts finalist tonight is Luke the Nuke. Takes on the Dutch Green Machine. Celtic's Green Machine faltered against Rangers last night. Marcus Rashford says no to £675,000 a week.
Hello, good morning. Plenty of sunshine around today, though it is going to be feeling cold, and also some snow on its way this weekend. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
With the weather being really cold, and it's going to be a really nasty weekend weather-wise, there's loads of you getting in touch about heat pumps.
You got them going on heat pumps.
And what to do about... Because if you're meant to get a heat pump now if your boiler goes or you replace your boiler. But you don't have to, because you can still buy, gas ones or whatever. But loads of you getting in touch about heat pumps. Now, some of you saying they're no good, they're expensive and they don't heat your house as well. Others saying they're great.
Yeah.
So what are we meant to make of it all? Well, I don't know what to do.
Well, somebody made a point, actually, that it's going to be a difficult one for terraced housings. Apparently, they're really noisy. So if every house on the street had a heat pump, you'd hear about it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, that was interesting.
But also, some people saying they cost more money to run. Well, what's the point in that?
Well, they do say, don't they, that moving over to green energy, it's going to cost.
Can I ask a ridiculous question?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with a heat pump.
You're not familiar?
No.
They're basically aircon units.
Right. Well, they like the big thing, so they're just
But for heat.
But for heat. So it's an aircon unit. Because if you have an aircon unit, like if you go to a hotel and they've got one on, basically it takes the hot air out and puts the cold air in. So it works in reverse. You just, like, switch it the other way and it... It's blasting cold air out into your garden.
Right.
And the hot air goes in the...
But then...
But they're noisy, apparently.
And also, what about the pipe? Because the problem with don't you have to have the window open to get the pipe out the door?
No, because it's outside.
So you don't have the machine indoors.
So you're using...
Am I the only person that doesn't know what this is?
Yeah, so
Am I? I think I must be.
But obviously then it's going into the house and heating water.
Right.
Isn't it, to then run through your radiators?
Fine, OK, I'll have one then.
So, yeah, but they're very expensive.
I won't have one of
This
those.
transition to green.
Yeah, of course.
But
it is expensive.
Are they greener if they're using a load more electricity when we're not producing that in a green way at the moment? None of it makes any sense to me. I just don't understand.
And if it's not producing as much heat, which is what some of you are saying. Jury's out on heat pumps.
Yeah, so
if you know a bit more.
If you really know how they work and what to do about them, let us know, please, because we all want to know what's going on. gbnews.com/you'll-say.
Now, despite Labour's majority, the government is starting 2025 with its lowest approval ratings to date.
Well, yesterday, 20 councillors in Nottingham defected from the party, saying the Prime Minister's on a collision course with disaster.
Last night, it emerged that Labour blocked an inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer's conduct as the head of CPS while investigating the Oldham child grooming scandal.
And this morning, the government's confirmed that funding and reforms to social care, which they want to get in place, are so complicated, the key proposals won't even be delivered until 2028.
Well, despite that, Sir Keir Starmer has pledged to make this year a year of changing Britain for the better. But will it be?
Well, let's get the thoughts of former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Reddrop, who's here. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
So let's talk about the grooming gangs for a kick-off, because it's very confusing. Jess Phillips seems to have blocked a national public inquiry into it all. Kemi Badenoch saying there should be one. But, of course, it didn't happen when the Tories were in power, which it could have done.
It's a really, really difficult list because this is a national shame and a scandal, and I think everyone would recognise that. And there is justice that is required. There are victims that exist, and when it gets into a political kind of spat between the parties, it's not. And I'm not trying to, stand above it and be holier than thou, but it's not particularly edifying.
No.
And that is what we have seen over the last 24 hours. I mean, Jess Phillips came out and said that, ultimately this is, a local council issue. I mean, that line...
And is it?
Of course it isn't. I mean, I guess originally, maybe, but that is never, ever going to hold. This sounds flippant. I don't mean it to me, but, it's been Christmas, it's been the New Year. Westminster hasn't fully got back into gear yet. So these lines that the, sweeping stuff under the rug almost and hoping that, the media go away and the political scrutiny on this issue goes away, but that's not going to happen. So lines like that, to me, will not hold. You could argue, do we need a national inquiry into this? I think we probably do. There'll be others who think, actually, that's kind of a distraction technique almost, and won't actually hold people to account, which I think is the elephant in the room here. I think something needs to be held to account for what happened here.
Well, one of the arguments being levelled at this, and I don't know if it's fair or not, is the idea that this has all been blocked so that Keir Starmer does, because he was DPP at the time.
Yeah.
So he was, and he's already apologised for his role in that, saying not enough was done. I mean, that was some time ago he made that apology. But is any of this being done to shield him from more criticism or not? Or is that a bit cynical?
Sorry if I apologise if I didn't explain it well enough. I probably didn't. But I think that was the line that Jess Phillips has attempted to do over a relatively, quiet part of the year. But I think if the media and I think if politicians have any real kind of bottle and, metal to them, that, one of the first times Keir Starmer gets back in front of a camera on his return to Westminster, I think questions should and would be asked. And it's for him to explain in further detail, most probably, because that political pressure is not going to is not going to go away on this.
What do you make of Elon Musk's role in all of this?
Yeah.
He says Jess Phillips was protecting Sir Keir Starmer, also demanding the release of Tommy Robinson on his platform X. What do you make of all of that?
I might not... People might not like to hear this in a way. I'm really conflicted with Elon Musk's presence. I mean, why Elon Musk would care what someone like me would have to say about him. He's a complete genius, one of the most successful people on the planet. But it's very flippant, the way he gets involved in politics. He's just firing off tweets. I think he is a contrarian. I think he likes people to clutch their pearls. I think he likes watching that. I don't think he probably actually thinks about it too much. He likes a little bit of chaos, and I think he probably enjoys, as he would put them, all the establishment and the woke political world kind of, clutching their pearls, as I said, when he talks on British politics. But you cannot deny, I mean, this man, at the end of this month is going to be at the absolute, the right-hand man to the most powerful man on the planet. And, I mean, he thought Jess Phillips should go to prison. Was that it? Mm. I mean, that's probably a bit too much, but he does enjoys getting involved in UK politics and pushing the envelope and absolutely kind of watching people... the political class react to it.
But it's like the old journalistic argument, isn't there? And people won't probably know, but I mean, when you're training to be a journalist, one of the key books is called Power Without Responsibility.
Yeah, it is. That's really good.
Journalists wield some power. And he's throwing a lot of very powerful stuff out there and stuff that people are talking about and could influence things, but he has no responsibility for it because it's not within his precinct.
And also, as well, and again, it feels ridiculous me kind of giving advice to someone like Elon Musk, but is it diminishing returns? Because he does chuck out these kind of very hot, loaded tweets, almost weekly now in terms of UK politics. And at some point, what feels really kind of punchy and almost shocking, it's diminishing returns, and by week 50. We may even slightly start to ignore his interest in British politics, and I don't think Reform will want that. I don't think Elon himself would want that. So I think he probably could do with being a bit more considered. It's safe to say.
Is this row going anywhere? As you say, return of Parliament. This is threatening to overshadow that.
It should do. I would, and again, this isn't kind of, let's all give ourselves a pat on the back. I honestly think the work, and I wasn't actually quite aware of the work that GB News had done on this, but the work that you guys have done on this is huge and can't be underestimated, because for so long, I think the media did, and politicians didn't want to ask the tough questions, and it was a bit swept under the rug. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. I really, really do not. I don't think... There are too many people involved now to let it. And I think the first time that Keir Starmer gets in front of a TV camera, he is going to be quizzed on this. And the line, the holding line that Jess Phillips gave over the Christmas period ain't going to cut it. It's not going to hold.
But it is a very weird situation. There were these scandals at the time. It was looked at, but... This whole idea that no one has wanted to connect the dots between individual cases, no one's wanted to paint a national picture on this, for the very fear that you are considered racist or Islamophobic or whatever it may be, which is a crazy situation when it comes to justice and the protection of children.
It's completely crazy, and it's one of the main pillars of the national scandal that this is. And I would hope, and I think we all do, that that's now changed. The way we talk about these issues has shifted, and I truly believe we will see that in the coming days and weeks. And it is an incredibly awkward place for the Labour Party to be in.
Is it awkward for the Tories? I mean,
a bit.
Because I mean, Kemi's come out and said, "Oh, this needs to be done. It needs to be looked at. We need to join the dots." I mean, Nigel Farage has come straight out and said, "Well, you had 14 years to do this. You haven't done it."
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, just to zoom this out a bit, that's the issue that the Conservative Party will have on almost every single issue of the day that they comment on, and that's why I'm relatively sympathetic to the Conservative Party and Kemi kind of a little bit less is more at the moment. People aren't quite ready to hear about what the great Tory party would do on national issues at the moment. So that is a problem that they'll run into on all kinds of issues. I would hope maybe actually that the right, in inverted commas, well, I say that I'd hope genuinely political parties across the spectrum work together on this. Because, and I think the Telegraph wrote a really good comment piece on it. Someone needs to be held... People want justice and someone needs to be held to account for it.
And those victims deserve justice.
Exactly, exactly that.
Yeah, that's what gets forgotten in all of this. OK, Oscar, really good to see you. Thanks very much.
Guys.
See you later.
Well, let us know what you think about that. gbnews.com/you'll say. A Home Office spokesperson has said that no child should ever suffer sexual abuse or exploitation. Everyone who is responsible for children's welfare must learn from past mistakes and do everything possible to prevent future failures.
Well, Jess Phillips herself responded to the council's request for this inquiry, acknowledging the strength of feeling that a further inquiry into child sexual exploitation in Oldham should be undertaken. In letters to the council executive, Ms Phillips apologised for delays in responding, but maintained that local authorities should take the lead, saying it's for Oldham Council alone to decide to commission an inquiry into child sexual exploitation locally, rather than for the government to intervene. She welcomed the council's resolution to continue its work with victims and survivors.
Well, this all leads us to our poll of the day. Today we're asking, do you think there should be a national inquiry into the UK's rape gangs scandal? We'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned for that, as the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show. And as always, to get involved, just head to gbnews.com/poll.
Right, you will be waking up this morning suddenly realising that it is probably very, very cold in your house and you don't want to venture from under the duvet. Who can blame you? Let's see just how things are going to pan out for the whole day with Honor.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end the day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change. Thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, the Royal British Legion is urging all Second World War veterans and their families to register to join commemorations for 2 major anniversaries this year.
Yes, 2025 will mark 80 years since the end of the war, with Victory in Europe Day on the 8th of May 1945, Victory over Japan Day, 15th of August 1945.
Well, the charity is planning major events to mark these momentous anniversaries to ensure that the service and the sacrifice of the entire Second World War generation will always be remembered.
Well, let's talk to the Director of Remembrance at the Royal British Legion, Philippa Rollinson, who joins us now. Really good to see you this morning. So, what would you ideally like to see, I mean, particularly from those veterans who are still with us, to mark VE and VJ Day?
What we really like to see is veterans and indeed their families coming forward and letting us know how they would like us to mark their service 80 years ago. As you said, VE and VJ Day, 80 years since the end of the Second World War this year. And we really feel this is our last big opportunity as a country to say thank you to them and the whole of the generation for their service. So,
is their legacy and their voices, as it is probably going to be one of the last big anniversaries where we have veterans with us.
Sadly, yes. But what we also do know from our experiences last year, as you said, we took over 20 veterans to Normandy. We had 26 with us at the National Memorial Arboretum. But people are still choosing this to be the first time they tell their story, or to tell their story in recent years. So that's why we're having. It's great to be here with you today. Call out to all of your viewers to say, do you know what? Talk, let people know, let us know, and we can bring people together. We're in a hugely privileged position that we can do that. We can bring people together to say thank you, to make sure that that service and sacrifice is remembered in the way that's right for them, because they are so frail these days. They are so precious. But I do know they feel deeply honoured when we say thank you, and are very happy largely to share their stories so we can pass that torch of remembrance on to new generations.
Do we have some sort of archive, some recordings of veterans telling their stories, which can be saved and shown to future generations? Because that would seem to be a wonderful thing to do.
Yes, I mean, the Royal British Legion and many others working nationally in this field have been recording and archiving stories for many years. But there's nothing like saying thank you to someone when they're there with you. So that's why we're encouraging people to go onto our website now and to register so that we can make sure that we are in touch with everybody that wants to be involved this year.
Philippa, how can we ensure that the future generations never forget the sacrifices that were made in World War II?
Well, I think that's by making sure that we have, as you say, captured stories, and we are sharing stories, taking these opportunities now while veterans are still with us to talk to them and get their first-hand testimony, but then using all of the wonderful skills and technologies that we have and experiences we have in our museums and archiving sectors to take those stories, and then for people like us to keep them alive and keep to working with schools, youth groups and community groups, to get those stories out there.
OK. Look, really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed. BritishLegion.org.uk is the website, and then you have to navigate to the right page to get involved in this. But I do think it's really important, if you are a veteran watching or you care for a veteran, get in touch. But at least you can have your say on how the nation thanks you for what you've done.
And it's right that they're at the forefront of this.
Oh, yeah.
That, absolutely.
I think it's a really lovely thing that they're being asked to get, to be involved in this, and it should be a big national memorial and thank you, but also an education for those, and there'll be plenty who don't know about VE and VJ Day.
Well, I also really appreciate the fact that VJ Day is going to be a big commemoration this year, because so many people forget that, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Victory in Europe, but actually there were brave men, courageous men, fighting for months on after that. You know, that didn't happen until the August. So it's right that they're remembered too.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely thing to do, and we'll be marking it with full gusto here on GB News, and guarantee you that, and saying our thank yous to everyone who was involved, fighting for our freedoms today, and of course those servicemen and women who still serve and are fighting, putting themselves and prepared to put themselves on the front line for our freedoms in this country, which we mustn't forget about either.
No, absolutely not.
Now.
Yes, 23 minutes past 7. If you didn't get everything on your Christmas list this year, how about £50,000 in tax-free cash to start off the new year?
Buy a few presents, wouldn't it, for yourself?
Just a few.
Anyway, it's all part of our biggest ever Great British Giveaway. If you would like to enter, here's how.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff.
And my name is Julie, and we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you on that one. Now, still to come, after Hilda the calf was genetically modified so she wouldn't release greenhouse gases, we're asking, is it immoral to genetically modify animals? We'll debate that next.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Bansky's Girl with Balloon is arguably one of the artist's most recognisable images. So when a limited edition print signed by the artist was stolen from Grove Gallery in London, an investigation was launched by the Metropolitan Police's flying squad. The work was thankfully retrieved. The desire to own great works of art has once again become evident this week, albeit a little further afield on the continent. Police in Italy have uncovered a criminal network forging artworks by Bansky, Andy Warhol, Pablo Picasso and others. Investigators said that they've seized more than 2,100 fake pieces of art with a potential market value of about £165 million. With me to discuss that case is the Chief Executive of Grove Gallery, James Ryan.
The art world needs to tighten up. It is known as a bit of a Wild West out there because people will try and chance it with these forgeries. You're quite right, there's only one actual original, but even auction houses have been hoodwinked before.
The burglary that you suffered is sub judice, so we have to be careful what we say about it. But it must have been a bit of a shock to you. I mean, was it a broken window, a smashed door?
At 10, 11 o'clock at night, and just hammer straight through, shoulder barging through the door, and then in and out. You know, gone in 60 seconds. I must say, I know.
Obviously, they had a targeted attack. The person would have known what he or she was after. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I must say, I know they cop a lot of flack, the police force, but the flying squad got the artwork back within 3 days. They were fantastic. So yeah, I've never heard or seen, other than the Thomas Crown Affair type film, I just didn't think it'd be happening to little old me, in Fitzrovia, but it did, and thankfully we got it back.
GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
7:28 now. Hilda the calf may look like any other cow in the herd, but her genes have been modified to stop her releasing any gas through burping or breaking wind.
And I must say, Hilda's very cute. We'll
She's very
put that
cute.
out there, yes. Well, it's all to help stop the release of harmful greenhouse gases into the air. And it's been described as a hugely significant moment for the UK dairy industry.
But should we be allowed to actually do this, to genetically modify animals? Let's talk to Peter campaigner Ruben Skeets and Director of the Adam Smith Institute, Maxwell Marlowe. Good to see you both this morning. Ruben, should we be doing this?
Hey there, thank you for having me on. Look, genetically modifying animals is fraught with ethical concerns. It can produce animals with higher disease risk and enhance deadly mutations. But the thing is, we don't need to be tinkering with a cow's genetic makeup to address the climate crisis. What's needed is really for people to consider eliminating their intake of meat and dairy products. Research shows that our consumption of cows, pigs, and lambs needs to drop by at least 90% just to avert the worst effects of the climate crisis. So the solution is as easy as swapping a beef burger for a bean burger, or having oat milk in your cuppa instead of cow's milk.
But Ruben, you're not going to get 90% of the population to become vegan, are you? So perhaps modifying animals' genetics is the way forward to be better for the planet.
Well, I mean, I would say it's maybe a little naive to think that breeding cows that burp less will mitigate the ecological nightmare that is raising and killing animals for food. We need to remember that methane is one of many environmental harms caused by animal agriculture. In the UK, this industry is the leading cause of freshwater pollution. Globally, it's the leading cause of deforestation, biodiversity loss, habitat destruction. These farms require huge amounts of energy to run, and breeding cows to burp or fart less tackles none of these issues, nor does it help the miserable animals who spend their short lifetime awaiting a violent death at the slaughterhouse.
Maxwell, it may be a solution to some of the problems that are concerning people. However, what about the unintended consequences? I mean, there was a real concern when they were genetically modifying soya, never mind beef.
Well, we've been genetically modifying animals for hundreds of years, since the domestication of animals in the first place, really. I mean, the size of a chicken, for example, has grown by over 4 times since the early 1900s. So this is just natural evolution of how our societies are progressing. I think this is really, really exciting news, especially given the large externalities we face with these animals. And yes, I mean, Ruben's right to some extent. There are all sorts of environmental degradation factors which go into the production of our food. But if we can mitigate just some of these outcomes using this genetic modification, I think we solve a lot of those issues. And yes, there are unintended consequences, but with good research and development, real innovation in agriculture, we're going to see a lot of those be brought down in the future. This is really, really good news.
But Maxwell, should we be meddling with nature like this?
We've been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. I mean, look up how watermelons and corn and apples used to be produced back in, back in the pre-1900s. This is just part of agriculture. We've been doing it for donkey's years. So it's not really playing God per se. I mean, look at Dolly the sheep, for example. We're doing this for decades. This is great.
Yeah, we were eating Dolly the sheep, though. I mean, that's the concern, isn't it? Will people want to eat genetically modified meat? Because that's what it's going to come down to.
I think people can make their own choice when it comes to buying breeds. We do it already, depending on where you buy your food, your meat from. You can buy it from Scotland, you can buy it from Argentina, you can buy it from Australia, you can buy it from Britain. I think we should have choice, and it should be shown on packages that the meat has been modified. But I don't think we'd see the same scare as we would expect. To be honest, people are quite open to experimenting with their food, and this is good news for Ruben as well with his bean burgers and soy lattes.
OK, well, there we've got to leave it, I'm afraid. Ruben, Maxwell, good to see you both. Thank you very much indeed. I'd love to know your thoughts this morning.
Yes, you will have an opinion on that one.
Would you eat genetically modified beef? Or are you concerned about what it would do to you? I mean, I don't know. Do we know enough about it? I don't know.
No, well, we don't yet, do we? Let us know what you think. Do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit will be here to tell us all about tonight's World Darts Championship final. That's next.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. On the M74 from South Lanarkshire into North Lanarkshire, there's a lane closed where a lorry's broken down on the northbound exit at junction 5 at the Wraith interchange. It's slow towards there. County Down, the A2 Hollywood bypass is partly blocked where there's a fallen tree near to the Hollywood Exchange Retail Park, causing delays. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs. Buses replaced trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. In Cheshire, the A535 is closed northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound from the A52 north of Grantham to the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham after an accident late last night. On the M25 in Essex, it's down to a single lane anti-clockwise for repairs just before junction 28 for the A12, causing delays, and down to a single lane anti-clockwise between junctions 24 and 23 for repairs.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back at 7:36. It's
Straight off the
sports time.
It is.
I'm just excited to talk about Luke Littler.
Are you enjoying the darts? You're enjoying the darts,
I
aren't
do
you?
enjoy the darts.
I know you do. And Stephen, you like the darts?
I like the darts.
You're getting excited about the darts?
Yeah, I am. I'm just a little bit on the edge of my seat because Michael van Gerwen is...
You like him as well?
Well, he's a tough act to beat.
He is. You've got a funny feeling, haven't you, that he's going to win?
No, well, I know.
Or is it just a little worry that
It's a worry. It's a worry. I'm so Luke Littler. I really want Luke to get this and bring it home.
We're Team Luke over here.
See, Luke is most definitely the favourite. But now we've got MVG, Michael van Gerwen. He was previously, or still is, I guess, the youngest winner of the World Championship at 24. So now
That's interesting.
Luke Littler is going to beat that by 7 years, should he win tonight.
Should he win?
Should he win tonight. We did hear from Luke Littler. Let's speak to Michael van Gerwen. This is what Michael van Gerwen said after his incredible win. He won 6-1 last night, beat Chris Dobey very, very easily, ready for the final. This is what MVG had to say.
I think it was a good display from me in patches. Of course, he could have put me more under pressure here and there, but I think I did the right things at the right moments. Where on the moment it was the most important, and with a couple of good finishes and scoring on the right moments, I was the one who put him under pressure, and I think that made me win this game today.
Yes, that's him.
Yes.
Don't mess with Michael van Gerwen there. So so Luke Littler destroyed Stephen Bunty. He said they've both won their semi-final 6-1. Yeah. So I've just got a few facts here, and I did mention this earlier, but it's worth repeating. 13 180s, so 13 maximums. He got 170 finish, which is always the Grand Slam finish. Treble 20, and then bullseye. Average 105.48. He's playing probably, and I always go on about momentum in sport. And as far as Littler's concerned, he's getting better and better as he's going along. But then again, it's the same with Michael van Gerwen. So I think it should be a great final tonight.
It's going to be tense.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm really hoping Luke does it. Really, really do. I think it's great for the sport.
But you know what? I also love the fact that we're talking so much about darts. If we'd have gone back a few years, it's probably something that we wouldn't really have mentioned. But now the popularity, it sells out. Everybody loves it.
It's a household name.
Absolutely.
Can we play birthdays, please?
OK, we'll do some birthdays. OK, I've got a few birthdays. Got some sporting birthdays. Maybe some showbiz ones later, but sporting birthdays today. How old are they, please? First one, who do we have? There we are, Michael Schumacher. Now, we know Michael Schumacher obviously hasn't been seen for many years now, but Michael Schumacher, how old is he? One of the greatest of all time?
54.
54.
56.
56. One of you's the right. One of you's got it right.
Well, I hope it's
56.
It's 56.
No!
I'm so sorry.
Why are you so good at this?
Let him go first. And then I can...
She cheats.
I don't... No. I've always said...
Paul
all right,
helps me, that's how it works.
OK, well, there's the opener. Michael Schumacher, 56 today. Let's go with the next one. Who do we have? Another... Now, this is Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans, I know you recognise. Johnny Evans, playing for Manchester United, still... And I know you would guess he's been around for so long, he's going to be, like, about 68. But it's not the case. Johnny Evans, how old is he today? And we're looking to help you out just a bit, Ellie, because I think Stephen's got this already.
Probably.
He's a veteran. He certainly is a veteran. You wouldn't expect that. He'd moved away from Manchester United, come back, and he's now playing again. So think of the latter stage of your football career. How old would you be?
30.
You're in the right. Yes, that's a good start.
Go on. 37.
37 is the right answer.
Thank you.
What is going on with you and the birthdays today?
Thank you.
You've got some birthday magic about you.
One more.
I'm not as green as I'm cabbage.
This is going to see whether you're cheating or not.
Right.
Because I would never, ever in a moment dispute it.
I'm not Googling them. Go on.
OK, one more. We got one more for you.
All right.
Now, she has been with us on the show. She was with us a year ago. First female to write 100 winners, the great Hayley Turner. So how old is Hayley Turner? What do you reckon? She could be 20. She could be 70 today.
It's hard to tell with the helmet on.
Right, so it was last year. She ran a 100th winner. Flat jockey. She's a great jockey. She's still riding.
You can ride at a much older age, though.
Yes, right.
I'm going to go 44.
44. He's close.
43.
42. 42. Very good performance by you today.
Thank you.
Very good.
Stephen, you're very good at this game.
In fact, you're so good, the next sporting birthdays on your birthday, I'm going to have you amongst them.
Oh, yes. Please.
And then we'll guess your birthday.
Yeah.
27?
21?
Oh, yeah, right, no.
Again.
Yeah. Right, thank you. Get on.
By the way, could I borrow some money?
Yeah. Yes. Right, we're going to take you through the papers with Nigel and Claire in a minute. But first, if you fancy a bit of winter sun, here's a forecast for the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Cloudy skies across eastern parts of Europe, including some showers for southern parts of Italy and also parts of Greece, and also some rain and strong winds affecting the west. This will move into Madeira later on Saturday, also affecting northern parts of Portugal, western parts of France too. More in the way of sunshine across central parts of the Mediterranean, but cloudier further east, with a risk of showers across southern parts of Italy and also the Greek islands too. And more in the way of sunshine next week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Donna Ida, who joins us now. And Donna, you look spectacular in your gorgeous denim jumpsuit.
Thank you.
And accessories. And it's important, isn't it, sometimes, just to keep things simple?
I always keep things simple. I travel a lot, I work long hours, and I don't want to think too much about what I'm wearing. So for me, one and done is perfect. Good accessories, fresh hair, nice makeup, and you can go anywhere, including GB News when you didn't know what was happening.
There we go.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Straight off the plane. Can we ask you some of our top denim questions?
Yes.
Because Stephen Dixon, the presenter of The Breakfast Show who's just on, said that double denim to him is an absolute no-go.
Oh, what does
Is that true?
Don't have him on again, darling.
OK. We're telling me fact.
I love double denim.
Really?
I love it. I think it is so cool.
Does it have to be a different
I was going to say
tones?
double denim, same colour.
Or same
I
tones?
like the... For me, I actually do like the same. Think Saint Laurent 70s. There's an amazing one that we're doing that's going to look great on you in the new season. The Joan Jean, we've got the City Slicker shirt. Oh, it's amazing. If it's done well, it's perfect. And I like it in a paler blue, but a good mid to dark. Very chic.
Yeah, you go.
No, well, I was just thinking, little old me, not quite sure
You'd look amazing
what to wear
in
this
it.
morning. How
was a
do
bit
guys
stressed.
pull off denim?
For me, if I was dressing you, I would have put you in a pair of jeans this morning with his amazing jumper. Gorgeous watch.
Black, blue?
Black denim I do like. Men don't like it so much. Men like charcoal denim.
Oh, I don't like grey.
Charcoal. I love grey, and the best seller for men is charcoal denim.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, time to see what's in the papers this morning at 7:45 with Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson. Good morning to you both. Nigel,
Morning.
This can't be right. Is this a typo? The Mail says that NHS managers' salaries have soared by more than £1.1 billion.
Yes, and I think it probably is right. I mean, you've got to bear in mind that the NHS employs 1.5 million people, biggest employer in Britain, fifth biggest employer in the world. So the one thing about the NHS, I know that we always want doctors and nurses, but the NHS actually needs to be managed. So the idea that you'd be employing, that the bill would go up, is about right. Now, the Mail criticism seems to be that, hang on a sec, they're not meeting targets. Again, you have to actually ask whether or not targets are necessarily the best way of running the NHS anyway.
Well, it needs to be productive, doesn't it? And waiting lists need to come down. And all the while, the NHS is better funded than it's ever been.
Well, that's right. I mean, that wage bill is a 69% increase in a decade. And that's just on managers. And I think when you look at the state of the NHS, yes, you do need people to organise it, but do you need quite the level of individuals that you currently have? And I think the problem is successive governments have tried to chop up the NHS into regional areas, national clinical areas, everybody's in a group, and then it was a slightly different group. And you then just have more and more managers coming over these different sort of tertiary levels of the NHS. I think most people would just want a GP, hospitals to be staffed with doctors and nurses and paramedics, and they would be happy. The levels of management that you have isn't acceptable if the system isn't working well.
No, but
just adding more doesn't make it better.
But what Wes Streeting is saying is that one of the changes with the 10-year plan to reform the NHS is that bad managers will get sacked. I mean, there's no longer, it won't be a job for life or anything like that.
Oh, I'd like to see that happen, because I should imagine that they'll all be members of a union, will probably unsack.
Well,
I suspect they will be. In the NHS, it is quite a heavily unionised area. It will be incredibly difficult to get rid of people. And what method are you going to use to say whether they've succeeded or not?
Well, I mean, their performances, if they're not... I mean, what he's saying
but if you get rid of... You say we shouldn't have targets.
I don't think you should have targets, no. I mean, for instance, one of the targets would be 4 hours... that they still use... 4-hour waits in A&E. The trouble with that is, and they can meet that target over 90% of the time, the problem is what the hospitals do is they shift people from A&E to a different part of the hospital. You're still in pain, you're still sick, you still haven't been seen, but the target's been met. And that's the danger about having targets.
And who brought that target in, Nigel?
Andy Burnham did.
Thank you, that was the... previous Labour government didn't exactly fix the situation.
But it persisted through 14 years of your lot.
I'm not suggesting that my lot made it any better, but I just think that by adding more layers of management doesn't make things run properly. You actually just need people to go through the system.
Right. Should we have a look at heat pumps? Please, in the eye, because loads of you have been getting in touch on heat pumps this morning. We're going to have to get one at some point, according to the eye.
Yes, this is Ed Miliband, our net zero SAR Secretary of State, who thinks that...
with that less disdain.
This man, he promised me an owl. He has never delivered me an owl, and now he's going to make me have a very expensive heat pump. There are many, many problems when it comes to heat pumps, largely the cost of them, the efficiency of them. Yes, it doesn't work necessarily in a country that is quite damp, which is the United Kingdom. If you look at Scandinavian countries, air source heat pumps work quite well because the air is dry, even though it's cold. In this country, it is cold, it is wet. And you will find that there are immense problems with pipes freezing, therefore people have no heating, and the maintenance costs are absolutely enormous. And that's before you even start to look at the planning problems you're going to come into force with when you're looking at Grade 2 listed buildings, for argument's sake, somewhere in a conservation area. It is an absolutely ridiculous policy to make everybody have something which isn't going to be possible.
So I can't have my heat pump?
Do you want one?
Do you want to live in a cold house?
I do, yeah. I mean, I think it's the right direction to go in.
Should buy a machine.
The problem, I mean, according to Claire, the problem is we don't have the wherewithal in our house to actually install one as they stand. I'm hoping that the technology would improve and the cost will come down. At the moment, I mean, an air source heat pump costs you about 19 grand, and it then goes.
Sorry, how much?
Up to 19 grand, but a ground source one will set you back up to 34 grand. So at the moment, the government will give you an allowance for that, about 7,500. But the price has got to come down. It's the same with electric cars.
Yes,
yeah, the price must come down before people are going to actually take this.
But this is it, isn't it? It's the push for the green agenda. The infrastructure has to be there. The same with electric cars.
That's right.
It's fine if, lots of people have it as their second car, but the mileage range isn't there yet. There aren't enough electricity
I agree with
charging
you.
points.
Yeah.
I mean, the infrastructure, it's almost like you're jumping the gun.
Well, that's the point. And the one thing, I mean, the Tories had a deadline for this of 2035. One thing Ed Miliband has done is actually said, look, we probably won't meet that deadline, so he's scrapped the idea of forcing people to have it by then. But ultimately, this is where we're going. The same with electric cars. And I have noticed, in fact, with electric cars that there are an awful lot more places where you can charge them now. So gradually the infrastructure is being built in.
Not in more rural areas. It's fine in towns and cities, but you look at where we live, there are no charging facilities whatsoever.
But you've been moaning about the ones they've put in our local supermarket because they've taken up car parking spaces.
They've taken out 6 car parking spaces in a small car park to put in 3 charging stations. Now, given that the time limit in this car park is 90 minutes, I'm not sure how much it's going to charge your car up.
A few miles.
No.
Exactly.
Maybe that doesn't apply if you've got an electric car. You can leave it in for as long as you like. Meanwhile, you two obviously rarely agree on anything. Perhaps in the Times you need one of these machines that help people agree.
Yeah, I like this one. It's a machine developed by Oxford University and Google DeepMind and uses AI. But the idea is that it takes a load of people's opinions, matches them up in the machine, then comes out with a kind of consensus. It tells you what the majority opinion is, but taking in also minority views too. I mean, this could replace politicians eventually.
Well, I was going to say, should we get rid of the House of Commons and just have a big computer?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it would just be dull, wouldn't it, if you're finding, the consensus. Well, what about the debate? That's part of the process, is having the debate and it's having the discussion.
But the machine does it for you. The machine actually does that. That you get 5,000 people, they write a paragraph, the machine takes it all in and then works out an opinion.
Doing yourself out of a job, aren't you? So I'd button it on that one, because you wouldn't be able to write any articles, you wouldn't be able to come on and give your opinions.
So you'd have a machine as a political commentator.
Yeah. Well, look, it's like deep thought. Do you remember deep thought?
Yeah, I do, yes.
The answer to life, the universe and everything is 42. There you go. Right, thanks both very much indeed.
Now, it's cold up there today. Let's get the details with Honor.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change, thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. On the M74 from South Lanarkshire into North Lanarkshire, there's a lane closed on the northbound exit at junction 5 for the Wraith interchange, where lorries broken down causing queues. In County Down, the A2 is partly blocked eastbound by a fallen tree on Bangor Road at Hollywood. Buses replaced trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree. There are delays of up to half an hour to trains between Manchester Airport and Manchester Oxford Road after a train broke down. A1 in Cheshire. The A535 is closed northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound from the A52 north of Grantham to the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham after an accident late last night. And in Derbyshire on the A6, the southbound exit to the A50 at Thurleston is closed because of an accident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won $25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Demands for a national inquiry into grooming gangs.
Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch calls for an immediate investigation into child exploitation in Britain.
Responding to the criticism, the government said they called for and supported an inquiry into child sexual abuse which concluded in 2022. But has enough been done?
The government has launched an independent commission to transform social care, but proposals for major reform may not be delivered for years.
Well, amidst all of this, today is 6 months since the Labour Party took to power. So, are you feeling the changes that they promised?
Nigel Farage will today attend Reform UK's East Midlands conference with a new poll projecting the party could win a total of 72 new seats in a new general election.
The New Orleans terror attacker acted alone. No link between him and the Trump Hotel Cybertruck explosion, according to the FBI.
I can't wait. And in the sport, the World Darts finalists tonight. Stand up if you love the darts. Actually, don't stay where you are. As Luke the Nuke takes on the Dutch Green Machine. Celtic's Green Machine faltered against Rangers last night. And Marcus Rashford says no to £675,000 a week.
Hello, good morning. Plenty of sunshine around today, though it is going to be feeling cold, and also some snow on its way this weekend. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon with love.
I'm Ellie Costello, also with love, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Wrong with these people?
The love.
Have you seen the advert for Love Meghan?
No.
I watched it in the early hours of this morning. First thing I watched when I woke up.
Oh no, were you feeling a bit queasy?
I was just a bit confused, I'll be honest. Because I thought the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, was now a humanitarian. I thought that's what they were going to do.
Right.
But according to this advert, anyway, for the new Netflix show, she is a Hollywood housewife. It's all about how to host, how to... It was a nice-looking salad, a hummus,
Yeah.
And that was the extent
I'm
of
going
it,
to
really.
cut a piece of cabbage now
Yeah,
in a showbiz fashion.
And then invite my famous friends round to have a salad with.
Yes.
A little hug with Harry at the end.
Oh, nice. Always good. Shows the love there.
Shows the love.
But what's the
And that was
with
that.
love Meghan stuff? What's that about? It's also false.
Hosting
It's a brand.
tips and tricks.
With
yeah.
love, Meghan. It's a brand.
It's very Hollywood. Very, very
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Do you think people will watch it?
Well, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know what you gain from it, really, just watching Meghan make us.
Yeah. It's constantly trying to reinvent
I mean,
themselves, isn't it, a bit, maybe?
Her fans will love it. The Sussex
Yes.
Squad, as they're called, will absolutely love it. But it's 8-part.
Right.
How many
what?
salads can you
Eight
make?
parts, yeah.
How long is each one? Do we know?
Well, I imagine about an hour each.
Oh, my goodness me. There'll be so much love to go round. What will we do?
I don't know. But
Yeah. Oh.
let us know what you think. Will you be watching January the 15th? It's being released on
Do you reckon Meghan likes the darts, though?
No.
Do you not reckon?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Anyway,
There's
right.
still time.
There's lots going on today politically. We've got, first and foremost, all this hoo-ha over the grooming gangs scandal. The Labour government saying there's not going to be a national inquiry into this. Kemi Badenoch saying there should be. Nigel Farage saying, well, why didn't you do one when you were in power? Also, there's all this stuff about social care and how that's going to be reformed, but we're not going to get the proposals for another 3 years, apparently. So lots to talk to the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, Andrew Gwynn, who joins us now. It's good to see you. Thanks for your time, Andrew, as always.
Good morning.
Can we start with the grooming gangs issue? Because really, this does need to be looked into. Kemi Badenoch's got a point, hasn't she, when she says, without this sort of national public inquiry that is being called for, how do you join the dots between this so that, A, you can learn more lessons, and B, people can be properly held to account?
Well, look, it's not like me to agree with Nigel Farage, but I do think he has a point when she was able to do some of this in government. Look, the issue for me is that we've already had national inquiries into these serious issues. We've had inquiries into Telford, we've had inquiries into Rotherham. Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, commissioned an inquiry into Greater Manchester, which includes Oldham. We've had the national inquiry into child sexual exploitation in 2022, which has a long list of recommendations for the government to take on board. There does come a point where it's enough of the talking. Kicking this further into the long grass isn't acceptable. We need to start acting on those recommendations. We need to make sure that there is justice for the victims, for the girls. And that's really what should be the focus now of this new government, is ensuring that we deliver justice and we deliver change, not have more talking. I think Kemi Badenoch needs to stop playing politics. You know, it's a nice headline, but the reality is there are real lives here that have been affected by a real issue in parts of the country. We need to learn lessons from those inquiries that have already taken place, and we need to get people through the criminal justice system, and we need to get action on the ground for those victims.
Yes, but how can you get action for those victims? How can you ensure that justice can be done without a full national inquiry and without a full understanding of exactly what happened across this country? It is a national scandal. That national inquiry that you've mentioned, it drew criticism at the time for its limited scope. It only focused on cases between 2011 and 2014. And Jess Phillips talking now saying, look, it's up to Oldham to commission an inquiry. It isn't to do with the government. It isn't anything to do with government meddling. Why are you sweeping it under the carpet? This isn't
We're not
about
sweeping
Oldham.
it under the carpet.
This isn't
There
about
have
Rotherham.
been-
This isn't about Rochdale. This is a national scandal. We need to connect the dots in order to understand. Without understanding, how can you gain any sort of justice for these victims, for these young girls?
Because we already have a series of recommendations, and actually it's incumbent on this government, as it was incumbent on the previous government, to implement those recommendations and to ensure that justice is done. I don't think that justice is done by having another inquiry into all the same issues that we've already had local inquiries and, in the case of child sexual exploitation, a national inquiry on. We know what the issues are. We know what the recommendations are. We need to get justice for those victims, for those girls, and we need to build into our criminal justice system and our legal system going forwards robust mechanisms that make sure that these kind of things can never happen again. I want to see action, not words.
But well, has there been action? I mean, since these reports, and the last one in 2022, is there confidence in the government that these agencies which failed these girls would not fail again?
And that's why we need to take action, not spend the next couple of years talking about stuff that we already know. And what frustrates me, Stephen, is that, you know, if Kemi Badenoch wants to play politics here, her government has had the opportunity to implement these recommendations, to make changes to these institutions, and they didn't do so. It falls on our desk to do it, and that's what we are going to be focused on, what the Home Office and the Ministry of Justice are going to be focused on in the immediate future, is building that real change so that the victims get justice and so that hopefully things like this can never happen again. We don't want to talk about it. We want to see action.
So what action is being made?
Well, we've got the list of recommendations. The Home Office and the Ministry of Justice are considering those recommendations. They will be implementing changes in a whole variety of areas. But this is precisely the point. We need to move on from talking about a problem to trying to resolve it for the future.
But you just haven't listed any action there. You haven't listed an action.
There's a long list of recommendations in the child sexual exploitation report that goes to various different departments in government, including the Department of Health, and in terms of how the NHS deals with victims of sex abuse and how the health system provides that wraparound care, which has been not in existence in some of those cases, how we get better reporting across the health service to social care and to other agencies. There's a whole range of recommendations, really detailed recommendations, that across government we are now considering and driving forward action points to try and resolve these things for the future. But that's exactly the point. We can talk about this and talk about it and talk about it. We can produce report after report after report. It doesn't change a single outcome for the victims of the grooming scandal. What we now want to do is to tighten up the law, to make those changes and to ensure that things like this can never happen again.
All right, you lead us on perfectly to social care. And a national care service, which the government says it wants to bring in, because this is something, and we understand now, I mean, we know it's a hugely difficult and hugely complex area. However, proposals for the long-term funding and major reform of social care in England aren't going to be on the table until 2028, we understand, where I mean, the boss of Care England says this is not an option. People in care today cannot afford to wait any longer. Their lives depend on action now. Why is it taking so long?
Well, of course, that criticism would be fair if we weren't already acting now. So there's two things going on here, Stephen. Firstly, we have announced today that there will be an independent commission into social care led by Baroness Louise Casey, who is, I would argue, the foremost public sector reformer of our time. And she will be tasked with looking at what the shape of a social care system, not just for the next few years or the next decade or so, but for the next several decades should look like, drawing on the experience of those that operate social care services, those that receive social care services, and the vast army of unpaid carers as well. But look, we've got to go further with this. We've got to build in political consensus, and that's why we have written to the opposition parties to invite them to take part in this commission with Baroness Casey, because look, we recognise the kind of changes that we are going to need, the kind of reforms we are going to need for our social care system for the future requires this change lasting more than the lifetime of this government, going into several governments. And we've got to learn lessons from the past to draw that sting out of social care politically, because no political party has good form on this. When Gordon Brown tried to reform social care in 2010, Andrew Lansley of the Conservatives denounced it as Labour's death tax. When Theresa May tried it in 2017, we lambasted it as Theresa May's dementia tax. We've got to go beyond that. We've got to come up with a roadmap for delivery, and one that will survive this Labour government.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a good point. Andrew Gwynn, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that. I mean, look, cross-party support on that would be a huge game changer, actually.
Well, the Lib Dems welcomed it, haven't they? Saying it's the right approach. But it's no easy task, as Andrew Green just said.
No, it really isn't. Well, look, we started off talking to the Minister about the grooming gang scandal. It's our poll of the day today. Do you think there should be a national inquiry into the UK's rape gang scandal? We'll bring the live results throughout the day. Final result in Martin's show later. And if you want to take part, you just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, you may have just woken up and noticed that your house is very cold this morning. You definitely don't want to go outside. It is freezing, isn't it?
It
is.
Your
car will be frosted over. Let's get all the details for how the rest of the day is looking with Honor.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change, thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Dora Carrington is not known to lots of people, and very few pieces are in public collections. So you have had a great deal of work to do to put this exhibition together?
Absolutely. It's been, next year, it will be 30 years since the last major exhibition of Carrington's work, which happened in 1995 at the Barbican Gallery. And I guess if people know Carrington's work, they might have seen the film that took place that year, that came out that year, starring Emma Thompson as Carrington and Jonathan Pryce as Lytton Strachey, who was her main kind of key relationship in her life. And that, in a way, dramatised a lot of those relationships. And so people will often know her life as much as her art. There's only 16 works in public collections, and so apart from chances such as the big billboard campaign you mentioned 10 years ago, there have been very few chances to actually see her work in the flesh. And so what this exhibition does is bring together around 80 works by Carrington and a few of her key contemporaries, providing a new generation really a chance to see and enjoy her work. She was one of the most remarkable of her generation at the Slade School of Art. She won several prizes for her drawing and her draftsmanship. And in the first room of the exhibition, we have some of the work, for example, a couple of female nudes that she painted when she was at the Slade, and they really are kind of quite outstanding.
One of the things that's been said is that in her landscapes, she's sometimes painting the human body as well as the landscape. Is that something that occurred to you? Can you stand up that?
Yes, I mean, one of her most famous paintings we have of Spain has. It's very much like you could liken it to the female form. You know, the kind of the
delicately put.
Yes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is nice, isn't it?
Oh, this is... She just said, this is you, doll. You start this. And then she jumps in straight away.
Just wanted to reflect. I like this. This is
just nice, cosy.
Yeah, cosy.
Comfy.
Sat in the lounge. It's nice.
Anyway, it's 19 minutes past 8. Good morning to you. Now, it's 6 months ago today that Keir Starmer's Labour Party won 411 seats in the general election, taking the Conservatives out of power for the first time in 14 years.
Yeah, it was actually the Tory party's worst ever electoral performance. So, we're asking this morning, how much has changed in the past 6 months?
Have you noticed anything? Well, we decided to send our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, out and about to the lovely Leighton Buzzard. Morning, Catherine.
Yes, good morning from Leighton Buzzard. You're used to seeing me in breakfast in Westminster, aren't you? But the politicians, they're not even back yet. They're still on their Christmas recess. They're back on Monday. So we are the People's Channel, and we thought, let's get out around the country. And we have come to Leighton Buzzard in Bedfordshire. Now, this was previously a Conservative seat. And then there was that Labour landslide 6 months ago. This weekend, this seat is now Labour for the first time. Worth saying that the Conservative vote here collapsed by 26%. The Labour vote share only went up by 6%. But let's talk now, 6 months on, to our great panel and see what they make of how Sir Keir Starmer's been getting on. Thank you very much for coming out on this very frosty morning. We really appreciate it. James, I'm going to ask you first. You voted Labour for, I think, about 40 years. Up until this year, Why didn't you vote Labour this time when so many people did? And what do you make of their first 6 months?
Well, Catherine, I've got to say, if I can answer the second question first, which is, I frankly couldn't think of a worse start for any government. 6 months into government. It's just been a whole series of mistakes, one after the other. And I think for me that the whole debate about left and right, Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, it's always been a left-right split. And I think the last 2 or 3 years, with the rise of reform, I think you've seen a complete fragmentation of that. So I've come to this from the left, if you like, which has been quite a journey. Other people from other directions, and I think it's just, in a sense, it's no longer left, no longer right. Reform is basically saying we need to do democracy in the UK a different way.
Yes, but I mean, it's easy for them to shout from the sidelines, isn't it? They haven't been in power. The Conservatives had 14 years. But what was it about Labour this time that you thought you weren't going to trust them with your vote? And can you find anything good to say about what they've done in these first 6 months?
Well, I've liked some of the things that Wes Streeting has been saying about the NHS, and particularly about trying to row back the kind of crazy direction of travel in which the NHS and the care industry has been going, in terms of things like diversity, equity, inclusion, gender ideology. The whole thing has become a kind of total nightmare. So he's been saying some really positive things about that, which I did like, I have to say. The problem is that apart from him and possibly 1 or 2 others, what I've been very conscious of is the Labour Party seems to me to have been completely captured by so many of these, what I would call, slightly off the wall ideologies. And I thought, no, I've got to do something different.
Interesting. Michelle, you are a local councillor, an independent local councillor. You voted Conservative for a long time, not this time. How did you vote this time? And also, how do you think that Labour have been doing these first 6 months?
Well, I voted Reform this time, because I think that Reform represents a lot of what the general public wants. Better control of our borders, more control of our government and not constricted by EU rules. I think the start to this government has been disastrous, really, hasn't it? They were elected on multiple lies. They lied to during their election campaign. No tax rises, no national insurance rises. And them national insurance rises are going to affect jobs and businesses.
They would say, of course, that they found a 22 billion back hole that they didn't. They would say it was so much worse than they were expecting. Do you give them any credence for that? I mean, 9 billion was public service pay awards, but was there a case for making those awards to settle the strikes?
But they have to fund. They should have been honest during their campaign that they had to fund them rises, and other political parties stated that they'd have to increase taxes on national insurance to fund them pay rises, and they threw them out as lying.
Do you think the Conservatives were honest? They took 4p off national insurance that they arguably couldn't afford, perhaps knowing that they weren't going to be in power afterwards, and they didn't get any credit for it, did they?
Well, I mean, there is that case, isn't there? But I mean, Labour knew about that black hole, and some of that black hole was inherited by the Conservative government in 2010. So they knew about that. They just chose to spin it, that there was this £20 billion black hole that they had to try and fill, when they knew about it during the election campaign.
Well, they would paint a different picture, of course, but I think you're speaking for many when you say that what Labour said during the general election and what has come to pass are two rather different things. They talked a lot about no planned tax rises beyond the VAT on private schools and so on and so forth, and we found that there's been a lot. Pat, you are also an independent councillor. You're a retired driving instructor. You voted for all the main parties in the past. How did you vote this time? And also, what do you think 6 months on? Is Sir Keir Starmer good at politics?
Well, I voted Reform last time, and quite frankly, I know you slipped up on the 6 years, but it actually feels like 6 years that they've been in. It does. I mean,
You said that as well.
Six months, and I'm an exhausted citizen of the UK, very exhausted, because all we've got is more of the same. The lies are coming from the Tories, and then it goes on to the Labour. It's as if they passed the baton. You just say anything to get in, and we'd be fine. And when I listen to an MP now, I just see a lie coming between their lips as it comes out. I don't see nothing else.
I'd agree with that, Pat, because I think, we hear that word, the Uni Party. I think it's something the Reform have used. And I think there's that real sense, isn't there, that you're absolutely right. It's almost like it's been a seamless transfer of power from the Tories to Labour, and some things have got crazier and so on, but it's almost indistinguishable, isn't it? I think, in a sense, that's where I guess we've all come from different directions, saying we just need a change. We just got to change this. It cannot go on. Where trust in politics is just an all-time low, isn't it?
You all sound incredibly disaffected, and turnout at the last election was very low, as you've said. Labour promised change. They promised to be different. Already their poll ratings are collapsing. You've all talked about Reform, and it's fascinating because you've been a Labour voter, you've been a Conservative voter, but it's easy for Reform, isn't it? Because they haven't been in power. They haven't. Government is tough. They can say all these things. They can say they turn the boats back, but the reality is, we don't know how things would be under Reform. The local elections will be a big test. Reform have got the wind in their sails. Do you think that Reform, come the next election, are going to get a whole load of seats?
It's our only hope. It really is our only hope that we've got Reform in the background now, ready to come forward. I can never vote for Tory, Labour, Lib Dems, Greens. We've had enough of all that. They've done their term. They should be out of politics, a whole lot of them. But Reform is left on the sidelines, ready to step up. We'll try anything. I'll try anything.
No experience of government, though.
It doesn't matter. Well, we've got these MPs experience in government. What have they done? Messed the whole country up. Nothing works in this country anymore. Nothing's there for the majority of the public in this country.
Labour have got 4 years to turn things around. OK, I think you all agree they've had a very bad start, lots and lots of unforced errors. But they say they've made these big, tough decisions now. They say they're going to get growth. They say that public services are going to improve. That could happen, couldn't it? They've still got time. No. If the waiting lists start to fall, you think...
That can't happen. It'd never happen. Not under these politicians.
What do you think, Michelle?
I don't think they can deliver what they claim they're going to promise to deliver in their
Why
term.
not?
Because it's just not possible to do it the way that they're going on. I mean, they were elected on a barrage of lies, and I just can't see... They're not doing anything or putting anything in place or infrastructure to deliver them promises.
They're very short of money, aren't they? I mean, the reality is we had massive spending sprees for COVID, again for war in Ukraine, the energy bills, etc. There's not a lot of money around trying to get growth. Our economy hasn't been doing well for a long time. It's really tough. So we're going to talk, I think, a little bit after 9 o'clock about Donald Trump, because it does feel a little bit, from what you're saying, like what's going on across the pond. But for now, we are going to have a chat here, and we'll be back with you after 9 o'clock. Don't go anywhere.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Bury, the A939 is closed in both directions between Cockbridge and Tomintoul in the Cairngorms because of snow. In Argyll and Bute, the A815 is closed each way at Toward after a lorry hit a gas main. In County Down, the A2 Bangor Road is partly blocked eastbound by a fallen tree at Hollywood. The port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailing suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Buses replaced trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau-Ffestiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. Now delays of up to half an hour to trains between Manchester Airport and Manchester Oxford Road after a train broke down. In Cheshire, the A535 is closed northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident, and the A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound after an accident between the A52 north of Grantham and the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, our next guests have been working closely with celebrities and MPs to help clean up our planet.
Very important. Think Ocean was founded in 2021 with two main goals. One, educating the next generation to make sure that they know when they're growing up that naturally we have to take care of the planet and cleaning pollution that's already in the environment.
Well, joining us now to tell us more is Think Ocean's founder, Hugo Valdez-Vera, and the co-founder, Nolene Mariappan. Really good
morning,
to see you both this morning. So, Nolene, let's start with you. What is Think Ocean and why did you want to start this back in 2021?
Yes, so Hugo had actually been working on the environment and climate action for quite a long time. When he moved to the UK, he realised that there was a growing problem with plastic pollution and that more needed to be done because people weren't actually seeing the link between plastic, the impact on the environment and climate change. So he founded the organisation and I joined him with three goals, really. Education, looking at technology to scale solutions, and looking at how we develop more circular economy programmes. So actually looking at reusing, recycling, actually creating local economies from what people would consider waste.
Hugo, just how bad is plastic pollution around the world, and especially here in the UK?
Well, it is bad, but we don't know the extent of how bad it is. You know, this is not much interest from the bigger players or, some government for us to know every detail of the pollution. So if we know that is from 1 to 10 is 2, probably it's about 6.
Oh.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 8:33. Now, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, has announced a new Netflix show.
Yes, it's a lifestyle show called With Love, Meghan, and it's set to premiere on the 15th of January, featuring 8 30-minute episodes.
Yes, have a look at this. See what you can treat yourself. Our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, is here. I don't know whether... I mean, is she trying to turn herself into Nigella Lawson?
Well, I get paid to watch this eight-episode series, so, yeah, that's something. I think this is Meghan coming full circle here. Do you remember back in 2014 when she was an actress on the programme Suits and she launched this lifestyle blog named after her favourite wine and she called it The Tig, and it was all about her sharing her food tips, her recipes, her lifestyle passions, candles, etc. Then she shut it down, of course, ahead of her marriage to Prince Harry, propelled onto the global stage, and then, of course, we all know what happened with Megxit, and now we're back again. Is this Tig 2.0 on Netflix? But, of course, now she has a humongous profile to promote this. It's been on every media publication this morning and, of course, last night, including,
Pardon the pun, but will there be an appetite for this sort of programme? I mean, I'm watching that advert. I watched it this early hours of this morning. It's Meghan making lovely, fancy-looking salads and canapes for her friends.
Yeah, well, I think there is certainly some kind of audience into the insight or kind of a private world of these kind of individuals. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying the Princess of Wales would ever do anything like this, clearly. However, I think a lot of people are interested to know what happens behind closed doors of members of the royal family, even if they have left as working members of the royal family. So in that sense, perhaps, I suspect it's going to do better in America. However, the problem for Meghan, or the challenge, I should say, for Meghan, is there are a number of these lifestyle programmes out there. What's going to make it different for Meghan, and it can't just be she's married to Prince Harry, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what's in the episode.
Well, I mean, does anybody believe it? As if she goes and we saw a clip there of you donning a bee suit and heading out into the apiary and getting... As if she goes and collects her own honey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even filmed in her own house.
No, it's not. It was reportedly a £5 million mansion that was rented. The cooker that you see behind her is actually $15,000, according to the Daily Mail. But this is Meghan, I suppose, wanting to show the other side. But, of course, it's not particularly real, is it? Because you say it's not her actual house. So whether
They'd
people
say
will
that's
buy
for
in...
security reasons, I'm sure. Wouldn't
Well, quite possibly. And also she probably doesn't want her own private house on Netflix for the world to see. I think we'll have to wait and see as to how this rates. I suspect, as I say, it's going to do much better in the United States. I'm not sure how much of an appetite there's going to be for Meghan donning a bee suit, but we'll have to wait and see. But, of course, every show like this is going to have producers who are going to do the hard work for the talent in inverted commas. So, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I wonder how much of the cooking she actually does on it.
Well, it would seem like quite a lot.
Well, probably very little.
8 episodes
Because you know these shows where they have celebrity chefs things that do it? They don't cook it.
No, there's always a cook
It's all shipped in at the last minute, and then they say, oh, and this is what I prepared earlier. They never do it.
No, but Meghan, of course, exec produced it, so I'm sure she had her hands behind the scenes planning all the recipes and all the rest of it. Maybe we'll see some look-back recipes from the TIG all those years ago, so we'll see.
OK, Cameron Walker, we can't wait to hear what you think of it.
Yeah.
When's it coming out? The 15th?
15th of January, 8
Oh, not long to wait now.
Next week.
Well, if you want any chance of having a £15,000 cooker, £60 plate, £600 pans and a £280 salad bowl like Meghan Markle, then you'll need to take part in our biggest ever Great British giveaway, because you could win £50,000, so you could have her kitchen and have a little bit of change left over. Here's how you take part.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Do stay with us. Still to come, Nigel and Claire will be here to go through the papers. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Cloudy skies across eastern parts of Europe, including some showers for southern parts of Italy and also parts of Greece, and also some rain and strong winds affecting the west. This will move into Madeira later on Saturday, also affecting northern parts of Portugal, western parts of France too. More in the way of sunshine across central parts of the Mediterranean, but cloudier further east, with a risk of showers across southern parts of Italy and also the Greek islands too. And more in the way of sunshine next week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Cryptocurrency entrepreneur Justin's son spent $6.2 million, £4.9 million on a banana, duct taped to a wall, a piece of art by artist Mauricio Catalan. Other artwork has recently caused controversy. A portrait of the British computer scientist Alan Turing by the world's first ultra-realistic robot artist, that is to say ADAR, sold at auction for almost $1.1 million. Joining me now to talk about these latest hoo-has is art critic and mentor at the University of Arts London, Estelle Lovett. I have a feeling that in the case of the banana, it's quite a lot to do with the buyer. Now, you've researched the buyer a little bit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Justin's son?
Yes, so he's a very wealthy cryptocurrency dealer. And of course, you know, everything now is AI and FTs, and it's the way that money's going, and it's very good publicity for him. So obviously, you know, he's not daft. But what makes this banana so unusual is, and it has, as you say, taken the art world by storm. It is the current spectacle, and what's amazing is that even during these very difficult times, the art market still manages to spend big on a significant fuss. Why has it created this fuss? Well, don't forget, the winning bid just happened in a matter of minutes. It took Justin's son minutes to beat 6 other rivals, so they've all got mega bucks in their pocket. But you know, it's conceptual art at its best.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
8:44, time to see what's in the papers with political commentator Claire Pearsall and our senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Claire, let's start with The Guardian, should we? Because it's looking at Grenfell, but not what you would think. I mean, this is actually similar to what we saw after 9/11.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it the health implications for firefighters after a major event like this?
And it's frightening to think that we expect these people to run into burning buildings when we're all running in the opposite direction. And because a lot of these things are emergencies, they don't always have the safety equipment, the respirators and masks that they need straight away because they're running in to deal with the emergency. And it looks as if the toxic smoke has caused an awful lot of illness, potential cancer diagnoses in firefighters. And what I didn't believe until I read there's a particular firefighter, Jamie McDonnell, who writes a piece in The Guardian saying that he didn't have access to a respirator or a mask, and when they were sifting through the building afterwards, once the fire was out and the smoke was still around, they were just wearing a dust mask, which wasn't going to stop those particles coming through and into the body. And I don't think that we realised also that firefighters take their own clothes home to wash. So they're taking all of that toxic chemicals that are on your clothing into their family home as well. Why don't we look after emergency personnel better? I must admit, this did shock me, and I thought that I'd seen pretty much everything, but this is quite horrific if we're expecting people to risk their lives but not giving them the equipment to do it.
And also, the other side of it is that some of it was caused by the cladding itself, because of all the toxic substances in the cladding. That also had an effect on the firefighters. So it's another reason why you need to look at cladding, especially if things like this might happen. The kind of effect on the firefighters going in. I think it's awful that they were so concerned because the situation was so urgent. They went in without breathing apparatus. They must have known, they were taking a risk, but they thought saving life was more important than their own welfare.
There's just no excuse for it. It's shocking. But firefighters need to have adequate PPE.
Yeah.
They're going into burning buildings.
And it kind of, when you sit here and you think, well, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But as Nigel said, that they just ran into the building because saving lives was more important.
Yeah.
And I don't think we give them enough credit for the job it is they actually do.
We never do with any emergency services, actually. We never do, until you need them, and then you realise what they actually do for you.
Yeah.
Nigel, let's have a look at The Sun, should we? And the father of Sarah Sharif has been attacked in prison. Belmarsh, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, he's in Belmarsh. Had his throat slashed with the lid of a tuna can. And the trouble is that, I mean, no one's going to actually be terribly sympathetic because of the awful things he did to his daughter. But there's another side of it. People shouldn't be attacked in prison. No. There should be enough that the system should actually be able to protect prisoners while they're inside. But as I say, that when it comes to someone like that, I don't think that one can be terribly sort of sorry that something has happened.
Well, look, certain sex offenders and child killers and all the rest of it, you know, there is a very strong, weirdly, there is a very strong sense of justice between inmates.
There absolutely is, and what has happened to him is nothing in comparison to what happened to that poor little girl. So I don't think anybody's going to be shedding any tears. And yes, the criminal fraternity have a sliding scale of who they believe to be slightly better in the pecking order, and a sex offender such as that and a child abuser not really going to be
However, Nigel's got a point.
Yeah, he does.
Prisoners, we are, you know, they are then within our care and we are meant to look after them.
But why did the prison service not foresee that he would become a target? And they should have put measures in place, really, to stop that from happening. Nobody should be hurt, but as I say, I don't think anybody's going to be crying any tears over him.
No.
It's such a high-profile case as well, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it is horrendous. All of it is horrendous. But if you put somebody into the prison system, you should be able to ensure their safety so that they do follow out through with their punishment.
Yeah.
Claire, should we look at something totally different?
Oh.
We're expecting lots of snow and ice this weekend, and people are booking holidays to escape.
Sunshine Saturday.
Oh, is that what they're calling it?
That's what they're calling it. And this is holidays. 2 holidays are booked every second, with people looking to escape the cold, wet, snowy, icy weather that we have at the moment. So everybody is busy searching for their next breakaway into some sunshine, and I don't blame them.
No.
It is absolutely freezing at the moment and going to get colder, and in some places, some parts of the country are going to be hit even worse than we are down here. So it's unsurprising, but you do wonder how much the prices are going to get ramped up with everybody being online, looking at flights, looking at destinations.
And what happens to the children? Presumably they're at school, so either these are single people.
Bookings. So the people are either booking if they're able to do so for now, but also looking for their next break, whether it be Easter or the summer holidays.
Oh, like us then?
Yes. If we were the organised people, we would also be doing it this Saturday, but we're not, so we won't, and we'll leave it a lot later. But you can't blame anybody. If you get to this point in January, it's already grey and miserable. It's a long month ahead. You want something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, you would, wouldn't you? I'm busy talking. Well, I'm busy looking.
You're looking for holidays,
I just see,
aren't you?
so Saturday the 4th, and say 3 nights.
Where can you go?
Well, I was going Birmingham to Alicante on a package holiday. I was just looking for £532 for 3 nights.
That's not bad. Is that including return flights?
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
2 adults for 3 nights.
So do we have to have
So it's £266 per person for 3 nights in a hotel and return flights Birmingham to Alicante.
4 stars, not bad.
I was going to say,
that's not bad, is it?
What is the temperature there at the moment?
Alicante, it's in its 20s.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
well,
it's not the minus figures that
better than -8 there's going to be tonight.
Yeah, it's better than -8. That's very
So
good.
you can see why people would do it at those sort of prices. It's very good.
Have you booked it yet?
No. Sadly, I'm going to be here. Well, not sadly. No, you know what I mean. No, you know what I mean.
You could head off Monday and be back for your shift.
Couldn't
you be back for Thursday?
Well, I could do.
I'm encouraging.
I'm sure I've got things to do. I think I'd be in a lot of trouble at home. Nigel, in the Times. Young people, your Gen Zers, they fancy a job for life.
Apparently, yes. I'm really surprised about this. And this is the 18 to
I'm surprised they want a job at all.
Well, these are the 18 to 27-year-olds, and the way that they're approaching employment is that they want to stay with the same company if they like it there. What they want to do is retrain and take on new roles in the company.
Right.
Now, I mean, I thought I was an outlier. I stayed with my previous company for 40 years. And I just thought that nobody else was going to do that. I was watching people zoom off after 2 or 3 years. And the only way you could actually increase your salary properly was to move jobs and move companies. But apparently that was something that the millennials liked doing, the 28 to 43-year-olds. And Gen Z said, no, we'd like to actually settle down, stay with one company, provided we like it, but just have different roles within that company.
I'm really surprised at this. I thought that Gen Z, Gen Zers would not have the loyalty and they'd just be hopping around trying to make the money, going to startups.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite a traditional way of working, isn't it, to go with the company and hope to be there for life?
Yeah, and I think they're looking for some stability, and you can't blame them for that.
No.
When all of your costs are rocketing, you want the stability of knowing your wage is going to come in and you understand the workplace that you're in. I mean, I find it quite bizarre. When I first started out when I was 18, I temped because I wanted the variety and I wanted to see what it was that I actually wanted to do. And it was great, and it gave you that flexibility to be able to take a job. And if you didn't like it, it didn't matter. You're only going to be there for a couple of days, you'd move on. And it was good money at the time. And I know, that was a long time ago, and workplaces are very different. But it was a good way, it was a good introduction into the world of work.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's just the idea of a job for life. I didn't think they existed anymore.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, that's the other surprising thing. A job for life seems to be 7 years. That's rather like a prison sentence on that basis. That's what they're talking about, to actually stay for 7 years. But companies are turning over so frequently now and developing, and more people are being made redundant quicker than they were, say, 20 years ago.
Well, on that note, you two, I'm afraid, your paid time here is over. But we will see you again. You can clock out. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Claire and Nigel. As we were saying, it's cold out there, isn't it? Let's get the details with Honor.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow, once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change. Thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
the latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul and the Cairngorms because of snow. In Argyll and Bute, the A815 is closed in both directions at Toward after a lorry hit a gas main. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs with no sailings again today between Holyhead and Dublin. Buses replaced trains again today between Didno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog with a fallen tree on the line. There are delays of up to half an hour to trains between Manchester Airport and Manchester Oxford Road after a train broke down. In Cheshire, the A535 is closed northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound at Grantham after an accident late last night. And train services in Cornwall are suspended between Liskeard and Loo. And that's after a train broke down. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever, an incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Thank you, Britain.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for your support.
It's you that make us the People's Channel.
As we reflect on our journey so far, we're filled with immense gratitude.
You mean the world to us. We couldn't have reached this point without you.
As a very special thank you, we are giving you the chance to win one of 50 GB News thank you boxes. They're worth £50 each.
For full terms and conditions, and to enter, just go to gbnews.com/thank you.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Demands for a national inquiry into grooming gangs.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, calls for an immediate investigation into child exploitation in Britain.
Well, responding to the criticism, the government said they called for and supported an inquiry into child sexual abuse, which concluded in 2022. But has enough been done?
The government has launched an independent commission to transform social care, but proposals for major reform may not be delivered for years.
It's 6 months since the Labour Party took to power, but are we feeling any of the changes they promised?
Nigel Farage will today attend Reform UK's East Midlands Conference with a new poll projecting that the party could win a total of 72 seats in a new general election.
The New Orleans terror attacker acted alone. No link between him and the Trump Hotel Cybertruck explosion. That's according to the FBI this morning.
Hello, good morning. Plenty of sunshine around today, though it is going to be feeling cold, and also some snow on its way this weekend. I'll be here with all the details.
Just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Mark's been in touch.
Ooh, what's Mark said?
Mark's not very sympathetic about us moaning about the weather.
OK.
He says it's winter in the UK, it's cold, frosty and maybe a bit of snow. Get over yourselves.
OK.
But it is horrible.
Thanks for that, Mark.
Come on, Mark.
It is cold, Mark. You need to give us that. I don't mind it when it's crisp.
Oh, crisp.
Crisp is a lovely, lovely time.
Deep and crisp and even.
Deep and crisp and even, yes. And
Like
even
a good pizza.
Exactly like that. If you're inside and the snow is falling, beautiful.
Very nice. But if you've got to
Gorgeous.
venture out, that's a problem.
If you've got to do anything, it's very, very bad.
Yes.
And we were talking earlier about the NHS advice on the front of the paper this morning, which
very
is
good.
Fantastic. Do not go out at night or in the morning.
Ah.
So you may go out maybe at midday. But if you do, keep active and wear several layers of clothing.
Yes. So don't go out in your T-shirt and sit in the grass. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, talk about keeping you to suck eggs.
Yes.
Crazy. Anyway, if you are going out, keep warm and look after yourself.
Yes, and if you don't want to go out, we don't blame you, and you can just watch GB News. So either way, a win's a win.
Yes, absolutely. Get yourself a pot noodle. Now, despite Labour's majority, the government is starting 2025 with its lowest approval ratings to date.
Yes, yesterday, 20 councillors in Nottingham defected from the party, warning that the Prime Minister is on a collision course with disaster.
Last night, it emerged that Labour blocked an inquiry into Sir Keir Starmer's conduct as head of the CPS while investigating the Oldham child grooming scandal, something for which he's already apologised, actually.
And this morning, the government has confirmed that funding and reform to social care may not actually be delivered until 2028.
Well, despite that, Sir Keir has pledged to make this year a year of changing Britain for the better.
Well, let's speak to former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop, who joins us in the studio now. Morning, Oscar.
Morning.
Can we start with the grooming gangs scandal? This row that is exploding and threatening to really overshadow the return to Parliament.
Yeah, it's a political row, and I think there is something slightly unedifying about that. I think it gets lost in kind of a kind of slanging match between Reform, the Labour Party and the Conservatives when there are real... it's a real injustice. It's a national scandal. There are victims. Not patting ourselves on the back, or sorry, patting you guys at the back at GB News here, but the work that you have done when it was ignored as an issue by the political class and a lot of the media as well is genuinely been crucial work. And now it's not going to go away. And so we've seen Jess Phillips, and I know, she took 3 months to respond. There's an issue with that. People will look at the Conservatives and say, well, you didn't do enough when you were in power, as Nigel Farage has done. That's also probably fair enough. But the line that's been given by the Labour government in the rejecting the calls for a national inquiry, I think there will be people out there who are incandescent with rage over how they could potentially just brush it under the carpet once more. I don't think that line's going to hold in terms of Jess Phillips coming out and saying, look, it's a council issue and that's where it begins and ends. It absolutely isn't. I mean, and that is unsustainable. It is a relatively quiet period. When Keir Starmer returns to Westminster, he will be asked about this. And I think he'll be asked about it time and time again. And he's not going to be able to stand in front of a camera and say, look, guys, it's a local issue. Can we all just get on with stuff now? That's not going to hold. It's just not going to hold. Won't do.
But what is fascinating, to take it away from the issue specifically, if you like.
Yeah.
What we have is yet another sort of scandal, if you like, in inverted commas. And this seems to be dogging the government.
Yeah.
Since they took office. I mean, 6 months in, how many of these issues, which are controversial, seem to be happening, and how many times does the Prime Minister or the Home Secretary or whoever it is just seem to almost dismiss them? They're stonewalling everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, being in government is really, really difficult. And, the Labour Party, enjoyed kind of carping from the sidelines, if you like, at saying, the Tories got this wrong, the Tories couldn't do that, outrage. And then when you get in the hot seat yourself, you realise, it's very, very difficult. It's more difficult, and if we just zoom out a bit, this is, I think, a concern that even Labour MPs would privately have about Keir Starmer, is that if you don't have a vision. If you don't yourself almost seem to know how you want the country to go, the direction of the country, and you don't have that kind of charisma and that vision to take people with you, then when you do run into, problems, big or small, or scandals, you have nothing to kind of coalesce around. You get the sense he doesn't know what he wants his government to be yet. And so, yeah, you kind of get into a pattern where there's a vacuum, and you're just kind of flat batting and you're deferring, and you don't quite know the direction the country should be going. And I think there are politicians, quickly on this, there are politicians who have an innate sense of this is what the country need and want. That this is a national scandal, that 3 months won't do, when we're talking about the grooming gangs, that people are rightly outraged out there and we need to act now. You don't get the sense that that's what's happening with Starmer and the government at the moment.
Yeah. OK, Oscar, thank you. You sort of get the impression that's what you would have got from... But I know a lot of people didn't like Boris Johnson. You either sort of loved him or hated him, really. But you would have got that from Boris, wouldn't you? Yeah. Or Tony Blair, or... I'm not trying to be party political here.
Yeah, I think both of them would have got a sense of the strength of feeling on this.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, look, the Home Office has responded, saying no child should ever suffer sexual abuse or exploitation. Everybody who is responsible for children's welfare must learn from past mistakes and do everything possible to prevent future failures.
And the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, responded to the Council's request, acknowledging the strength of feeling that a further inquiry into child sexual exploitation in Oldham should be undertaken. In letters to the Council Executive, Phillips apologised for delays in responding, but maintained that local authorities should take the lead, saying it's for Oldham Council alone to decide to commission an inquiry into child sexual exploitation locally, rather than for the government to intervene. She welcomed the Council's resolution to continue its work with victims and survivors.
Yeah, well, our poll of the day today, we've been asking, do you think there should be a national inquiry into the UK's rape gangs scandal? We'll bring you results throughout the course of the day, but the final result will be in Martin's show later. If you want to take part, go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, has announced a new Netflix show.
Brace yourselves. It's called With Love, Meghan. Set to premiere on the 15th of January. You have to endure 8 30-minute episodes.
Well, let's take a look at what you could treat yourself to. Let's get more, shall we, from our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. What do you make of it, Cameron?
Well, it's funny how you introduced me actually as royal correspondent there, because, of course, this is anything but royal, isn't it? But, of course, she is married to Prince Harry, who is still the King's son. She's, of course, both of them have left as working members of the royal family, but this is Meghan's dream come true, isn't it? Before she even met Prince Harry, her passion was sharing recipe tips, lifestyle, wellness techniques, because she had a blog, quite a successful blog, actually, called The Tig. Of course, that had to be shut down when she became a working member of the royal family. We all know the turmoil that happened with Megxit. Now that her and Harry have come out the other side of that and have signed multi-million-pound deals with Netflix and others, this is the proof in the pudding, pardon the pun. And it is basically, I suspect, the royal family has been dragged through turmoil over the last few years because partly due to Harry and Meghan's decision, partly due to the royal family's decision, but this is kind of what's come out the other side.
Which is a load of nonsense. I mean, the fact, because it's all totally fake, isn't it? I mean, it's not her house, it's not her kitchen. She clearly doesn't spend her days picking strawberries and collecting honey from bees. I mean, the whole thing's just a fabrication.
Well, it's Netflix fantasy, isn't it? So I think any lifestyle programme such as this tends to not be filmed in the host's house. It's reportedly a $5 million rented house. The cooker itself is worth about $15,000. Even the pans are about $80 as well that she is using. So yes, Stephen, you're right. It is kind of fake and fantasy, but then, of course, that's how these lifestyle programmes are made. It's whether the question will be when you watch the series, if you decide to watch the series, is Meghan trying to portray herself as this authentic self, or is she going to make it clear that, you know, this is just like the best bits of her life. But she's got lots of celebrity friends involved in it, including her makeup artists and others as well. Prince Harry makes an appearance.
Mindy Kaling.
Yeah, a couple of celebrities who got her jammed. Remember American Riviera Orchard, her lifestyle brand, which we still haven't seen anything about. I suspect it's going to be tied into this Netflix show. It's Meghan being very, very business savvy. Fair play to her. She's managing to make money.
Yeah, she's been busy, hasn't she? We're in on the 3rd of January.
Yes, 15th this comes out. 8 30-minute episodes on Netflix.
I won't be tuning in, but Cameron, thank you.
I will.
Right. Do you fancy getting a load of money?
Yes,
Before
please.
the end of January?
Yes,
How about
please.
50 grand?
That would be lovely, yeah.
Tax-free. Anyway, it could all be yours in our biggest ever Great British giveaway. Here's how you can enter.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash.
My name is Cliff. And my name is Julie. And we won 25,000. I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Robert Walton has been jet-setting in recent weeks in Singapore for the WWII Awards and then back to London to host the inaugural Restaurant Association Awards.
Yep, and after many years in the industry, Robert also knows a thing or two about how to create the perfect Christmas. And it's all in the preparation. So we're going to be asking him about that as well. And I'm delighted to say that the godfather of hospitality, Robert Walton, MBE, joins us now on the sofa.
Morning, Robert.
Robert,
Good
so
morning.
good to see you. And what a busy few weeks you have had. Yeah. Should we start with the WWII Awards? Because I think it's just wonderful who you celebrated at those awards.
So, the WWII, young chef, young waiter, young mixologist. And it's a competition that's created around the world. So people from all around the world can apply. So this year we had 9 countries, from India to the Caribbean, from the USA to Scotland and England. And so we had 27 young professionals. The average age was about 24.
Wow.
All coming to Singapore. So we flew everyone to Singapore. We create what I call the Olympic Village. We create a little village for them, and it's in a very cool spot with great bars. And then we have the competition. And this year, I can now announce, I was here just a few weeks ago before we had the competition, that the USA won, which was absolutely incredible. Thailand was second. And gorgeous Wales was third.
Yes. Well done, Wales.
Well done, Wales.
We now expect to have a good meal. There's no reason why you shouldn't have good food. The key now is the service, because there's no reason why you don't have good service. And good service is not that difficult. Smile, to start with. It really isn't that difficult. It's called hospitable. We call the industry, or the sector we look after is the hospitality industry, which is all about being hospitable.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Ellie Costello, and thank you so much for joining us here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9:17. Now, it is 6 months ago that Sir Keir Starmer's Labour government stormed into power. 411 seats taken in the House of Commons, and ending, of course, 14 years of Conservative rule. Absolutely momentous. But 6 months on, what do we actually make of what the government's done? Well, we sent our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, out and about to Leighton Buzzard to find out. Morning, Catherine.
Yes, good morning, Stephen. We're here in Leighton Buzzard at the Sorelli Cafe, and I'm talking to the wrong camera. We've been setting the world to rights here. 6 months since Labour were elected with that huge landslide this weekend, and it hasn't gone terribly well so far, has it? I've got 3 voters here on our panel, one who voted Labour for 40 years, one who voted Conservative for a long time, one who voted for all of the parties. None of them very happy with the government at all at the moment. Pat, you're a local councillor, to come back to you. Can you give me something that Labour have done right in the last 6 months?
It'd be very short and sweet. I think they've allowed the cat to stay at number 10 Downing Street. Other than that, I've got nothing.
That was absolutely brutal, Pat, absolutely brutal. But today they have announced a commission into social care. This is an issue, isn't it, that's been kicked into the long grass over and over again by successive governments. One of the first things that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, did was get rid of the cap that had been promised by the previous government. Are you satisfied that they're finally going to sort of grasp this issue, or do you think we're going to see more of the same again on social care and elderly people being looked after in general?
I think they're going to drain the funds of elderly people that have worked so hard. I can give you an example. My mother-in-law had 70,000 in the bank. When she wanted care, they stripped the 70,000, and on top of that, they started on her house. And when you get that kind of... I mean, my mother-in-law worked all her life. She fought in the war, and she hardly ever drunk a drink of alcohol, never smoked, always worked hard, paid for everything when she needed to. She didn't have anything on what they call high purchase. And to find that she had to go into care and suddenly they were stripping all of her assets everywhere, that is an abuse of the elderly pensioners. And what with the WWII women as well. My wife is a WWII woman, and she didn't know it was going to, her years would be extended to 66, so she wasn't prepared, and neither was I. And then we have the winter fuel allowance. I mean, what has this government got against the pensioners in this country that have worked so hard for this country? What have they got against them?
A lot of people feel very, very let down, don't they? And you've mentioned, and I'm very sorry to hear that. It's the issue of social care. It's very expensive, but you know, Boris Johnson said back in 2019 they'd fix social care with a plan they had prepared. It turns out that there was no plan, and as you've said, of course, the government with the WWII women say that they simply can't afford it. Michelle, how do you feel? We were talking a bit off camera about migration. It absolutely ballooned, both legal and illegal. Labour have said they're going to get it down. Do you think that's part of the problem? Do you believe that they are going to act on this?
I don't believe that they're going to act on it. When Keir Starmer wants to allow more EU free movement for Labour.
Well, he said that won't happen.
Well, they want to allow under 20s, don't they, or something to... The
EU would like a youth mobility scheme. The government are saying no plans for that, but of course they said no plans about more tax.
We are an island. We cannot simply sustain this mass migration at the level that we're getting. And if all these are genuine refugees that are coming in on these boats, why is it over 90% of them are men? Where's their wives and children if they are fleeing genuine dangerous situations in their lives? You know, they're all men. They're all single men. And when the government have exhausted all the hotels or holiday camps, where are they going to put these? Because we have a lack of infrastructure. There's no housing, affordable housing for our own people. Where are they going to put all these immigrants or refugees that are coming over on these boats? Where are we going to put them?
And legal migration, of course, absolutely ballooned as well under the last government.
700,000?
Yeah, nearly $750,000. The government say they're going to build a lot more houses. But just to touch on the grooming scandal, our own Charlie Peters brought this to light again in the last couple of days. A huge story, and Elon Musk, of course, has intervened. James, obviously, a huge number of basically white working class girls have been horrendously let down for many, many years. Calls now for an inquiry. Jess Phillips, Labour, have rejected that. The Conservatives did the same. Just quickly, do you think that there should be an inquiry now into this?
I think there's got to be. I think this kicking it around saying, well, it's a council job, it's a government job, they're just passing the buck. It's got to be done. Really interesting that suddenly the mainstream media are getting interested in this because Elon Musk has actually intervened and asked some really hard questions of Keir Starmer.
Elon Musk, a big voice, isn't he? Do you think it's helpful that he's effectively interfering? Very, very quick answer. Is going to have to come back any second. Is it useful for Elon Musk to be getting involved? Is it okay?
He's entitled to an opinion, just like we are around this table.
Yeah, Michelle?
Exactly that. I mean, he's raising the issue. He's putting that issue out there that the government and other political parties have tried to hide and sweep under the carpet as such.
Yeah,
These girls have failed. These girls have been failed. They are victims of crime, and they have been terribly failed.
I think nobody would disagree with that. These girls have been horrendously failed. Over and over again, we see, don't we, ordinary people let down when the state, when police, when organisations should protect them. Back to you now in the studio. Ben, Leo and Nana Akoya coming up next.
OK, yes, they are indeed. Catherine, thanks very much indeed. I'm back with you tomorrow. Here's the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head towards the weekend, we'll see another cold and frosty start, turning increasingly unsettled though, with widespread Met Office warnings issued for snow and ice. Before we get onto that though, Friday, we should see plenty of sunshine around to start, though it is going to be feeling chilly, likely frosty, particularly across central and southern areas. Largely dry through most of the day, but there are still some showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, likely seeing more across northern coasts of Wales and parts of northwest England, and these falling as snow at times across Scotland. And once again, even though there's going to be plenty of sunshine around, it is going to be feeling chilly. Highs of only around 4 to 5 Celsius in the south. Then to end their day on Friday, across Scotland, we will still continue to see these showers feeding in, particularly around coastal areas, though some feeding in inland at times too. Likely falling as snow, mainly across hills, though we may see some flurries to lower levels too. And once again, across northern parts of England, parts of Northern Ireland, still the risk of those showers moving in across coastal areas. But for a large portion of England and Wales, it should be a rather dry end to the day. But once again, as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly. Through into the overnight period, once again, we'll continue to see these showers sweeping through around coastal regions, still falling as sleet and snow once again to hills, but also a chance we could see some to lower levels too. And across much of England and Wales, once again, plenty of clear skies, so those temperatures really dropping away and likely to see another quite widespread sharp frost by the time we reach Saturday morning. So a chilly start, likely frosty in places, but once again during the morning there should be plenty of sunshine around, still those showers feeding in around those northern coasts, and then it's all eyes down to the southwest as we start to see a change. Thicker areas of cloud, outbreaks of rain and also some snow starting to creep into the far southwest and parts of southern Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. And once again a chilly day on offer, particularly across the south.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way in the Cairngorms between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. In Argyll and Bute, the A815 is closed each way at Toward because of an accident. An lorry's hit a gas main. The Port of Holyhead remains closed for repairs, with sailing still suspended between Holyhead and Dublin. Buses replaced trains again today between Llandudno Junction and Blaenau Festiniog because of a fallen tree on the line. In Cheshire, the A535 is closed each way northeast of Holmes Chapel after an accident. The A1 in Lincolnshire is closed southbound from the A52 north of Grantham to the Little Ponton Junction south of Grantham after an accident last night. In Derbyshire, on the A6, the southbound exit to the A50 at Thurleston's closed after an accident. And in Essex, the A13 is partly blocked eastbound by a breakdown just after the Grays turn-off causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.